Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Generation Y Conservative. I'm glad you could join us tonight. So, tonight we talk about, well, a teenage boy apparently lays eggs. China is cracking down on funeral strippers. Experts are telling people to stop pooping on a popular climbing spot. And environmentalists are worried that Elon Musks Tesla car could contaminate Mars with Earth bacteria. Those are just some of the stories for us tonight.
Sound good?
We have another actors congratulating other actors for pretending award show. Katie Couric is upset that Yahoo News didn't recognize her for the tremendous talent that she isn't. The NFL parts ways with Papa John's and immediately signs Pizza Hut. We also have a transgender boy who wins a girls wrestling championship, and people are faking attacks on others, and a man posts about criminal behavior to lure police into a conversation about political corruption. Whatever works, right?
Yep.
We also have my interview of Kira Innes down at CPAC this year. And we end the night with another round of political Watch Your Mouth. So we talk about these topics and more. This is the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. All right, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Apparently I'm going through puberty. So thank you for joining us on the Generation Y Conservative Podcast, where the truth is greater than agenda. And, you know, every week it seems like that is the way to go.
Only more people share that sentiment.
It's unbelievable, I'll tell you what. By the way, if you're watching right now, you may be watching on Facebook Live, where you can tune in. I encourage you to find the Generation Y Conservative on Facebook. Follow along, get notifications when we go live, which is during the week, usually Thursday or Friday night, when we go live. And then the podcast is re-aired on KLRN Internet Radio on Sundays from 3 to 6 p.m. They've also been gracious enough to put me onto iHeartRadio and iTunes, so you can search for the Generation Y Conservative audio podcast on those sites. But the most important one, if you want to have some fun and watch the videos that we're talking about and follow along with some just better all-around video and audio, you can find me on YouTube. Hit subscribe. Also get notifications when we go live with that as well. Or I'm sorry, with the publishing. And you can also interact with me on Twitter at Gen Y Conservative without the E on the end. And that's pretty much it. So, by the way, tonight's podcast, we are airing live, and we're going to continue to air live after the podcast ends, and we're going to go right into our review of the Black Panther movie, which we were unable to do 2 weeks ago when it came out because I was down at CPAC. So we're going to film that tonight. I'll cut in the videos later and put the final version up on YouTube, but you guys are more than welcome to stick around as we talk about that after the podcast as well.
Yep.
So, I have something pretty important to discuss tonight. We spent all of last year covering charities throughout the year, spotlighting one every month in regards to things that we feel are important to our cause and the program. For conservatism, you know, we certainly watch what we're trying to throw out there as a charity in regards to, you know, staying away from things that, you know, like Planned Parenthood, where people can donate to help with abortions and killing people. But, you know, that's not a big national discussion right now, is killing people.
Yeah, right.
But I actually have something I would like to share, as friends of the family are currently seeking money via a GoFundMe type page to help them out, as the husband is battling lymphoma, which hits a little close to home for me because I battled lymphoma myself, and we'll talk about that in a second. On their page, it says, after the discovery of a 4x4 mass within his chest, Brian was then diagnosed with stage 2A Hodgkin's lymphoma. A PET scan also revealed a concerning area on his colon. Brian's oncologist discussed his treatment regimen, which includes up to 4 months of chemotherapy followed by weekly radiation therapy. Although he is preparing for months' worth of hardship, Brian fortunately has the support of his wife of 7 years, Lauren, his 6-year-old daughter, Molly, and his 2-year-old son, Jacob. Now, as a survivor of lymphoma myself, I can tell you at the time I had phenomenal medical coverage. So I had, we really didn't end up paying that much at all for anything. What people fail to tell you in these cases, though, is that it's all the other bills that stack up.
Yeah.
If you're not working, and even if your medical coverage is paid for, you're not getting that income coming in to pay off your mortgage and the utility bills and food and everything else for the family. So this guy is the one that works in the family. She homeschools, so that's not working. I obviously know that. But they're going to need some help. So he's going to be off for a couple months and trying to battle this cancer, and we wish him the best. But in the meantime, they're looking to raise around $8,000 to cover these expenses over the next couple months while he's battling this cancer. So there's no better time to step up and actually help someone that's in need. When we talk about this stuff all the time, no matter which political side you're on, these people have friends that are both conservative and liberal, as do we all. And it's a perfect opportunity for you to step up and actually help them out. So I would encourage you to go over and help this family, and you can head over to www.caring.com, and in the search bar, search for Brian Bachner for the fundraising page. Okay, so head over there, certainly help out the family. We wish and pray for all the best for him, fast healing, and also for the comfort of the family during hard times. Trust me, I had a hard time. My wife had her own type of hard time at the time that she had to, support everything going on. So it's a lot. And I think that I would encourage you to open your hearts and minds to possibly helping out another fellow human being directly with a contribution for that. Also, before we go on with this week's podcast, I want to talk about next week's podcast. The national conversation right now has been in regards to the gun debate, whether you're for gun control, for completely doing away with the Second Amendment, or you're for the Second Amendment, or somewhere in between. There's certainly places in between as well. Sure. There's a discussion to be had, certainly. If you say, and this applies to both sides, if you say that you are for a discussion, that this is the time that we need to have a discussion, whether it's now's the time that, schools are not teaching what the Constitution is and what the Bill of Rights are and why it's important. So we need to have that conversation, and then we can go into what's happening out there, whether that's you, or if you're on the other side where you're saying guns are killing people, we need to do X, Y, and Z to control this problem. If you are either one of those people and you're saying now is the time for a conversation, but your only solution is one solution, whether it be ban all guns or don't do anything, you're not willing to have a discussion. Yeah. You want your way. Your way. That's it. That's not a discussion. That's a demand. Okay. So with that being said, I think that there's a lot of points that are thrown out there, misconceptions about firearms, misconceptions about what the Second Amendment is, why it's relevant today,
why it was created in the first place.
Exactly. One quick thing to throw out there. The Second Amendment doesn't apply today because back then they had muskets, not machine guns and stuff like that. Okay. That's one thing that a liberal would say to you. Now, as a counter to that, right off the bat, they also spread their news with pamphlets, not the internet or TV or radio or anything. So do you want to go back to that? That's a First Amendment. Is that also going to be pushed back to those types of times? That being said, that's an argument that I'm willing to present. But what I thought would be actually fun and interesting is if anybody's interested in tuning in next week and throwing these things directly at us live on the podcast where that we don't research these things beforehand and we're responding on the spot with what we know and our knowledge on it. It would make it a little bit better because I could sit here, ask you to type out these types of things under the comments section and then spend the next week researching them and come off looking like I'm intelligent on the matter. I could certainly, sure as that way could go, I could get a question that I don't know how to respond to. But I feel like I've heard every single one 25 times over in the last week alone.
But that's also not to say that actually doing some research on something that you're asked or looking into or claim to have a viewpoint on isn't a smart thing to do.
Exactly. So what I'm encouraging is next week, if you tune in, come with your questions or responses. And even if you're a conservative, ideas. If you're a conservative, throw out the types of arguments that liberals are making to you and ask us how we would respond. The thing that we really enjoy on this podcast is we have fun. We make fun of the opposition. We make fun of ourselves, for crying out loud.
No one is safe.
Yeah, that's the thing. But we are never mean to people. You know what I mean? We're never going to take that response and say, well, you're an idiot and a moron because the Second Amendment is in the Constitution. Certainly it is. But we need to be able to back that up with a conversation on why it's in the Constitution, why that's important. So I would encourage everyone, again, next week's podcast, you can tune in, you can ask the questions live, or if you're not going to be able to make it live, certainly underneath this podcast, type out some questions. We'll answer them then in next week's podcast as well. Okay? Mm-hmm. So we're good there. Anybody tuning in yet?
Yeah, we got a few people tuning in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this teenager, Akmal, okay, I believe this is in China.
Okay.
No, Indonesia, I'm sorry, was brought to a clinic by his family who claim he has laid 20 eggs in the last 2 years. Okay, and there's pictures, I'll throw that up in the final podcast, but medics said it is impossible for poultry eggs to develop inside a human, and unsurprisingly, they suspect the eggs were put inside the youngster.
Hey, God.
So Akmal from Goa, Indonesia, has even been x-rayed, with his family claiming that this is proof he is telling the truth. His dad, Rusli, told local media, in 2 years he laid 18 eggs and 2 today, so in total there have been 20. I cracked the first egg and its content was all yellow, not white.
What?
A hospital spokesman said, our suspicion is that the eggs were deliberately shoved into Akmal's rectum. So here's the upsetting part. Did the doctors, the reporters, the nurses, did anyone ask this guy if he identifies as a chicken?
I know.
Or a duck or anything? Mm-hmm. I mean, let's be honest here.
Yeah. Anything's possible.
And what's this like... Maybe I didn't even think about this the first time I was gathering this information, but could you imagine, let's just say, whether it was stuck up in there or somehow this is happening, the dad takes it out of ass after it's come out of where, and he tries to crack it open.
Make an omelet.
I was just thinking, is that was his intention? Like,
listen, my kid is raised
so
free.
We let
cage free,
we let our kids run around the backyard completely free to do this kind of stuff. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here we just keep on going. This is all over there. China is launching a fresh crackdown on the bizarre phenomenon of funeral strippers. Okay? We're kind of going like, what are these stories lately about Madagascar? Oh my gosh, they were dancing with their dead relatives out there, and now they have strippers at the funerals. It's just like one big dance party at this point.
I know.
You know what I mean? So the practice, described as illegal and which corrupts social morals, is still a huge problem in rural areas. Burlesque shows at some funerals aim to draw more mourners and show off the family's wealth in a practice that has gained popularity over the years.
So is this like in the recently deceased's final wishes?
I don't know.
Because if it is, who is anyone to not grant that?
yeah, true. Yeah. But it says here that they're just trying to draw more people to show the wealth of the family.
Show it off.
Okay. Yeah. The new campaign urges people to contact a special hotline to report funeral misdeeds with the incentive of financial rewards. So can you imagine what that phone conversation is like? Yeah, hotline. Hi. I just wanted to report that I'm at a funeral right now, and there's strippers here. Mm-hmm. Okay, sir. How long has this been going on? Well, it seems we're about near the end of the show. So I was just calling about that financial reward. Would you mind delivering that in all ones as fast as possible, please?
You can fashion them into paper footballs.
Oh my goodness. So that's going on in China. So and I thought we were slipping morally over here.
I know, right? Yeah. Hey, you want to go out with a bang? Yeah.
So Experts are calling for new rules on climbers' poop on America's tallest peak after a study reveals that thousands of pounds of human waste is failing to decompose and could be staining the surface of this climbing spot.
Where are you finding these stories this week?
Oh, you don't even want to know.
Oh, bad.
So experts calculate that climbers left 152,000 to 215,000 pounds of feces from 1951 to 2012. Who's weighing this stuff?
I know. Yeah, how would they? I don't know. I guess they're probably just going by the average human.
Yeah, they're probably weighing the mountain somehow. Yeah. The waste is deposited into Kahina Glacier, the most popular route up Denali. Research suggests much of the waste from the last decade has not decomposed, and likely it never reaches a bottom, but because it's exposed to extreme temperatures or it disintegrates. Okay, so this means that it will reappear downstream as stains on Kahina Glacier's surface. It's a glacier.
Skid marks everywhere.
it's a glacier, so it's slow moving.
Oh man,
it's a slow pass.
Great. Now, so it's not global warming that's melting the glaciers.
No.
It's just feces. Steaming poop.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, so what we got here, real quick. Okay. Tesla, the Roadster. So did you see the space launch of, or not even, I didn't even watch a space launch, but I've been seeing the footage of Elon Musks Tesla kind of up in space with the spaceman in it and everything.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. First of all, it's cool.
I mean, that guy is just like, well, okay, what can I think up today?
Yeah.
All right, flamethrower.
Yeah.
Electric car, electric semi-truck.
I want to go off topic for a second here.
Yeah.
I want to go to a different story. This week, within the past week, comicbook.com or one of these sites, I don't know if you saw this, but I commented on this one story about net neutrality, right?
Okay.
And they were talking about how bad things are going to get in, is it May, when net neutrality?
April, I think.
Yeah, when it ends.
In April.
So I said, simply, nothing's going to happen. Nothing happened before net neutrality was passed, right? And it seems like it may be a prime opportunity for someone to step in if someone starts price gouging as a company to present an alternative, right? An alternative to that source of the internet, right? We're not even talking about so much the internet, but access to the internet. Right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe how that comment section exploded on my comment, right? And immediately liberals were calling me names left and right.
Yeah.
They were, you don't even understand a monopoly. You're talking about how someone could start a business. You don't even understand a monopoly. Excuse me? Did the government not have a monopoly on entering space? No one had access to do it. They didn't have the financial means to do it.
Yep.
What is Elon Musk doing?
Yeah,
he's going into space.
Yeah.
Not only is that, he's looking at the governments and saying, "Screw you! I'm sending my Tesla up there with a mannequin in it, just to show how much better I could do this than you guys."
Yeah,
do.
right.
And then re-landing them on the same launching pad.
Yeah,
right. This guy is just shoving it in their face. So they're like, they were saying, "Well, who's to say that number one, the cable companies for internet access are going to allow you to access their towers or their cables?" Okay. My response to that is, we look at Elon Musk, the electric car, his solar shingles that he came up with, right? Who's to say, with the way America works and American ingenuity, how people start a business, that cable internet is even the way? That you have to use the cables or towers to access the internet.
Yeah.
What's around the corner?
Yeah.
Someone's going to invent something that we get wireless internet at faster speeds than what cable is providing. Okay,
I heard that they were already 5G tests for T-Mobile.
Yeah,
that got up to like 1.3 gigs per second. So it's like that's already.
I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but Google was testing an idea of launching mini satellites into our orbit at different spots to provide free Wi-Fi to everyone
worldwide.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, they did a pretty crappy job of tying them to balloons down in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not going to be perfect every time.
No, yeah. But this is what I'm dealing with here, and I think what we're all dealing with is this limited capacity for people to think outside the box on where businesses are going. Yeah. Right? I mean, here they are saying that Donald Trump and the Republicans are going to screw them over. They're going to be paying higher internet prices. There's no alternative to this. The companies are going to form monopolies and overrule us, and we're just going to be stuck footing the bill. Number one, you do not have the right to access the internet.
Yep.
If you want it, you pay for it. Mm-hmm. Okay? So the companies can do whatever they want. Mm-hmm. Number two, it does present the perfect opportunity for a company to come in, set up an alternative, lower the price, compete against them, and what's that other company going to do?
What would you do? They're going to either match it or, take away the restrictions that they put in place to stay competitive.
Exactly.
Or lower their prices or whatever.
And that's the way the free market works. Mm-hmm. And then someone else is going to come in and they're going to look at that and say, who even needs this cable stuff? We're gonna do this other thing.
You need this. You need the cable stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, coming from a guy who works it. But who's to say that RCN, that another place doesn't come up with the alternative to it?
Yeah.
Right? Right now they're running cables and stuff like that, but what you never know what it could be.
Yep.
And that's the limitation of the way that these people think, is they automatically think they're screwed. They play the victim card right away. Woe is me, we're not going to be able to get the internet.
Yep.
That we don't have a right to anyway.
One thing I always kind of find interesting too about the debate on net neutrality, you see a lot of YouTube personalities and streamers that say, well, a cable company now will be able to, if you want access to the internet, it costs this much, but if you want access to Netflix, you have to pay this much more, but if you want this, and they talk about how awful and terrible and just evil that is. Mm-hmm. But then at the end of their video, they say, hey, join our Patreon page where for $5 a month, you can access these 2 videos we do every month, and then you can do if you pay $10 a month to our Patreon, you get an extra movie review, which is what I'm like, you're doing exactly what you're saying that you don't want everybody else to be able to do, Did you see
the video that Burger King put out on net neutrality?
No.
They had a camera set up in a Burger King and actually kind of in a way pranked people to push the net neutrality agenda. And they said they set up 2 lines, an express line where you paid $28 for a burger and you would get it right away, or you would pay the regular price for the burger, but you had to wait about 20-30 minutes, right? And they had actors basically go and get a burger in the fast line, and all the people in the slow line were getting pissed off, right? Mm-hmm. And the best response to that is go to McDonald's. And that's, again, the free market principle about what's going on. You know what that's a perfect commercial for? Screw you, Burger. Oh, I have a Burger King soda. Screw you, though. You're going to push this agenda. Everywhere there's a Burger King, there's either a Wendy's or a McDonald's right next door. Yeah. So I will go do it.
If not both.
Exactly. I'll find an alternative. Thank you very much. What do we got going
on? So Matt is saying that he, like you and me, wanted a flamethrower.
Yes. Yes.
And he's also blaming
modified
on Skynet.
Skynet, nice. Good. All right. So we're going back to the Tesla Roadster that Elon Musk sent into space. They're saying that it could contaminate Mars with bacteria from Earth. Microbes collected by the electric sports car and its plastic mannequin driver on Earth could survive on the vehicle for millions of years. Keep that in mind, what they just said. It could survive on there for millions of years. Mm-hmm. That's science.
Yeah.
If the car collides with Mars, bacteria from Earth could wipe out any alien microorganisms that live on the red planet, researchers claim. One researcher said it's very unlikely to even collide with Mars and much more likely to collide with Earth, possibly in a million years. Okay? By the orbital,
Yeah.
Again, science, right?
Science.
But... oh, I forgot to write it down. Apparently, another researcher, science, said that in the cold vacuum of space, the bacteria would die.
Science.
But it could live for millions of years out there in space. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Where are you at, scientists? Where you follow? So here we are. We have environmentalists are spreading their reach. If we are concerned about Mother Earth here, what is Mars? Grandma Mars? Distant Aunt Mars? What's pushing their environmentalist agenda?
What's the concern anyway? Like, so what if some bacteria makes it to Mars? I mean, they want humans to get to Mars, and apparently we're the ones who ruin everything. So that's fine, but some bacteria
on Saturn. We've ruined Mars. Look, it's desolate now.
I know.
From bacteria that probably
all the thriving life and fauna and flora.
It was probably Matt Damon anyway, burying his crap and growing potatoes. Matt Damon, he always screws up everything. Yeah. Okay, Katie Couric is slamming her about her unfulfilling time at Yahoo News, blaming an overwhelmed Marissa Mayer for not pushing her high-quality journalism. We've all seen her high-quality journalism. First of all, she started going downhill during the McCain-Obama. I would say that was her turning point for biased news, right?
Yeah.
I think she was bad before that. I happened to watch her growing up with Matt Lauer. Look at where these two are today.
Yeah.
On the Today Show.
Yep.
And I we would wake up every morning and watch that before we went to school and everything for the news. But it was that time frame where she was interviewing Sarah Palin and just would not stop like needling her and trying to make her look like an idiot. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not so much of a fan of Sarah Palin as I was back then.
Yeah.
Because I could see the socialist agenda of Obama and anybody was better. But she's just a horrible person. So Katie Couric called her $6 million a year gig at Yahoo News unfulfilling. She said that she said despite getting great content, the website did not understand how to showcase it and make it scalable. So essentially she's saying that she wasn't the front page of the news as soon as you opened up yahoonews.com or whatever the heck it is. Who uses Yahoo News? Do you use Yahoo News? Do you ever visit Yahoo News?
No. The only thing I've ever used Yahoo for is our fantasy football. That's it.
I don't even do that. I'm on ESPN for that. Yahoo, I hear Yahoo Finance is pretty good. Their financial section. I don't know. So Couric interviewed enormous newsmakers during her time at Yahoo, including then VP Joe Biden, Ed Snowden, Tom Hanks, and Tony Bennett, to name a few. She cited her overwhelmed boss, CEO Marissa Mayer, in part for not allowing her to reach her full potential, saying she had a lot of other things on her plate.
She's blaming the matriarchy.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't put it on the front page or they didn't know how to. Right there, she said it.
Yeah.
Even now, they don't have very good distribution, she added.
Why am I not on the front page?
She added they didn't know how to market things properly. They didn't even know how to take quality and make it scalable. So, Katie Couric added again with everything. So NFL news. As always, as if the NFL wasn't in the news all year long. The NFL signs a sponsorship deal with Pizza Hut just hours after ending its agreement with Papa John's, whose founder had criticized the league's response to players protesting during the anthem. Okay. You know, the Papa John guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
The NFL announced a new sponsorship deal with Pizza Hut on Wednesday. On Tuesday, the NFL and Papa John's announced their mutual decision to end their sponsorship agreement, which became strained after now former CEO John Schnatters? We'll go with that.
Tell you what, he made a good choice with the name of the company.
Yeah.
Papa Schnatter's Pizza doesn't sound too appetizing.
You want to Schnatter size that?
Yeah. Give me a slice of Schnatters.
Yeah. He criticized the league's response to the players' protests. Papa John's will continue its football marketing efforts on the local level with 22 of the league's 32 teams, as well as some star players.
So Peyton's sticking with him?
Yeah, who knows on that one. Papa John's stock dropped 12% after Schnatter spoke out against the league. Schnatter blamed... blamed diminished sales on the outcry surrounding football players kneeling in protest over inequality and police brutality against minorities. All right.
Papa Schnatz is feeling the free market,
Schnatters.
unfortunately.
Oh, man. The NFL just got schnattered.
Yep. So now they're going with Pizza Hut. I think the new commercials are T.O. with Pizza Hut, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Look at that. He's getting in the Hall of Fame. Face of the NFL's pizza now.
Yep. Not
Things
with
are
the
looking
Eagles winning the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So did you happen to see that movie, Three Billboards?
Not yet.
Did you hear good things about it?
I heard good things about it, yeah, but I wasn't, it's still out there in theaters, so I'm thinking about
Yeah. It's probably on the Android
it
box, too.
Huh?
It's probably on the Android
Probably.
box, too. Okay, so a street artist hijacked 3 billboards in Hollywood to attack the entertainment industry for failing to tackle sexual misconduct. What do you got?
Oh, no.
Okay. A street artist has covered 3 consecutive billboards on La Brea Avenue in Hollywood with his own powerful messages. He said the red and black signs featured 3 slogans beginning with, "And the Oscar for biggest pedophile goes to," and the second read, "We all knew and still no arrests," and the third one said, "Name names on stage or shut the hell up."
Pretty great.
Yeah. I don't know who the guy is. Sabo is his name. He said he was inspired by the Oscar-nominated movie Three Billboards, which is about a mom who rented billboards to demand justice for her daughter. Sabo said his stunt was an attack on those who were aware of sexual harassment in the entertainment industry but stayed silent.
Which, let's be honest, is pretty much everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
Like don't tell me Oprah and Meryl Streep didn't know their good buddy Harvey Weinstein wasn't up to shenanigans.
Yeah.
Come
Well,
on.
on top of that, we've been talking about this all year where, your option to stay silent on what happened to you, you were a victim. If you were a victim of that and you stayed silent, you allowed more victims to pile up in the wake.
Yeah, I'll say, I understand why you would want to stay silent. Not just from a protecting your career, which I think, though, for a lot of these people, that was a big thing. That was probably the majority of it, but also the shame of it, I can understand, but you have to take some responsibility of any victim after you if you didn't come out and say anything. Yeah. And it's not to villainize you. It's not to villainize that person. It's something that is partially understandable as to why, but that doesn't take away the culpability. Yeah. You know what I mean? The fact remains that if you stayed quiet, especially in something that was as rampant as the Harvey Weinstein scenario, where there are so many people and everyone knows and no one says anything. I mean, each victim, it's a little bit on your hands.
How many of those people, because it seemed like you said, people knew. Word got out that this was happening, but no one wanted to take action, right? Yeah. So how many times, and we'll never know this, did actresses have it happen to them and then they were hanging out with new actresses to the industry and heard them say that they were victims too, and they're sitting there with them, and in the back of their head they must be thinking, you have to be thinking, if I had just said something back then, maybe this person that's looking me dead in the eyes right now, confessing this to me about what happened to her, it wouldn't have happened to them. Yep. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So hopefully, we have a society now where not only is the bad stuff actually happening, but people are making up that it's happening too. Some people were already caught doing that. This is fake stuff all the time. Fake news.
Fake news.
So, we had a lot of fake news down at CPAC. Oh my gosh. So, speaking of the Oscars, Hollywood publicists are telling stars to steer away from Ryan Seacrest on the Oscars red carpet in the wake of allegations he sexually assaulted his former stylist. Let me ask you something. All these people that get called out for sexual, misconduct, Harvey Weinstein, let me just ask you this. You look at Harvey Weinstein. Could you see him being a sexual deviant?
Yeah.
Okay. Kevin Spacey. Once the word started getting out on the things he was doing, do you look at him and you think sexual deviant?
A little more iffy, but yeah, I could see it.
Ryan Seacrest.
No.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that E did their own internal investigation of, like, I think they said it was like 120 hours of investigation or something like that in looking into it, and they cleared him, right? So Susie Hardy accused Seacrest of groping, slapping, and rubbing himself on her. Her lawyer sent a letter to E last year detailing her allegations against the host, and he denied the allegations and says that Hardy demanded $15 million for her silence. But E cleared Seacrest of any wrongdoing in January after an investigation. So here he's saying that she demanded $15 million or she would say this stuff, right? And he didn't do it. You know, if it's not true, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
But what happens? At this point now, publicists are telling the other stars to steer clear of him and everything on the red carpet, even though he's like the main red carpet interviewer and everything. So again, we go back to this idea that allegations are enough now without proof, even after investigations, to ruin someone's career.
Yep. And guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
Or maybe even in proven innocent, still doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You're still guilty in the court of public opinion.
So there has to be repercussions for this type of activity. And I think we're going to, it's actually, we're getting into a couple stories here. And I'm going to make the point in regards to the next two stories after this, that we need to have some sort of system in place. There needs to be a new policy. And I hate policies, new laws and stuff like that. But there has to be something to be put into place that if proven false, the person that's accusing should have to serve the term that the person accused would have served if it was true.
Yep.
Because this fake attack stuff and everything is BS.
Yeah.
And you're ruining people's lives. In this
and
case,
wasting resources.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know?
But yeah, exactly.
It's robbing taxpayer money, even with the, any police that are involved, court stuff, it's just wasting time.
Let's just assume that Seacrest is right on this for a second, okay? And that he's innocent. And she was trying to get $15 million from him.
Yeah.
Right? She just ruined his career over that $15 million that she was trying to extort from him.
Yep.
Something needs to be done about that.
She's definitely made herself open to a counter lawsuit from him.
I would think so. I don't know what that would entail.
I don't know if he would win or what, but he should if it's not true.
Okay, here we go on here in New York City, from one coast to the other, and of course liberal states. New York City is being ordered to pay $180,000, which would be taxpayer money, to 3 Muslim women for forcing them to remove their hijabs for mugshots. Yeah. Because this area right here should be enough to identify someone.
You're wearing a mask.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, I know you just robbed a bank in that pull-down beanie thing there. Do you mind just leaving that on there so that next time you do it, we can tell exactly which beanie guy this is? Give me a break. What's interesting is they don't ever go into why these 3 women were pulled in, like what they did. Why were they getting their mugshots done?
Yep.
So they're criminals right off the bat,
Allegedly.
but we got to pay them. Oh, good. I'm so glad that the taxpayers' money is going to criminals.
Yep.
I mean, that's the liberal way of things, isn't it? Isn't it funny? Just real quick, another side note. I have like my own little ADD moments here. Yeah. Isn't it funny? And by the funny, I mean not funny.
Not funny at all.
Not funny at all. That we're looking at situations like this where these 3 women are obviously criminals getting their mugshots done, right? And in the end, we're paying out of our pockets and taxes to these 3 women who are criminals, right? And then you look at this whole gun debate, and I know we're going to get into that heavy next week. We're talking about guns being the issue, right? What to do with guns and the Second Amendment. I have not heard one discussion over the last week and a half of what that killer, and we're not going to say his name, what that killer did, okay, and what he deserves for doing it.
Yep.
I haven't heard anything on what is his sentencing going to be. What should it be? Should he be tried as an adult or a minor? He's going to be charged as an adult, or there's going to be havoc, right? No one's talking about him.
Yep.
It's the material item of the gun.
Yep.
Which probably is sitting somewhere not killing people right now.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah, not walking into a school by itself. Yep.
It's unbelievable that, that's the mentality of the left today.
Yep.
Like, no one's talking about the individual, the person who committed the crime. They're talking about the weapon that was used for the crime, not that did the crime.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. Anyway.
That's the biggest, frustrating point about it to me.
Yeah.
It's like when they plow through a crowd with a van, nobody's protesting General Motors.
Yeah.
So you're like,
the one I love is the NRA is either complicit in killing people or the NRA is murdering children.
Yeah.
The NRA. Can we go off topic on this for a minute?
Of course, yeah. That's
okay.
The only thing I've been following all week.
Okay.
So, I didn't keep up on my poop glacier stories.
So let's say you run into someone who has this idea that the NRA is responsible for all these killings, that they have the politicians, they're lining their pockets and paying to keep the Second Amendment the way it is, and that they're responsible for all this violence, okay? I would encourage everyone to look that person straight in the face that's saying this nonsense and ask them two simple things. What is the NRA and how does it work? Okay? Because the NRA is an organization that's made up of members like you and me, okay? And we pay a yearly membership fee, basically, that goes towards the organization of a group of people that helps to advocate for the Second Amendment, okay? That's it. They have helped to form policy based on the Second Amendment because the Second Amendment...
They're also representing constituents.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. They're not handing out guns. They're not selling guns. They're not going and participating in the actual killing, right? They have nothing to do with that stuff. And I would say to that person, if the NRA is there to advocate for the Second Amendment for conservatives, because the left doesn't really believe in the Second Amendment, I'm sorry, and most people, okay?
I think I read that they're 25 or 30% of NRA members are Democrats.
Probably blue dog Democrats, you know what I mean? I would say that they are to conservatives protecting the Second Amendment as if this is actually true, and sometimes I don't think it actually is, as to the left, the ACLU supposedly protects the First Amendment rights of people, right?
Anyway, yeah.
So if a child is bullied and commits suicide, is the ACLU responsible for the protection of the free rights to speech of that bully and then is liable for the death of the person who committed suicide? That's basically saying the same thing.
Yeah.
You know? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Did we have some stuff going on there? I think I don't know why my wife is messaging me some other stuff. Okay. So
get distracted.
It does not deal with hijabs, and it does not deal with the ACLU or the NRA, so we're going to move on.
Yeah.
So these three Muslim women filed lawsuits against New York City and the NYPD for forcing them to take off their hijab while taking mugshots. Now, I'm going to say there is a reason why they are filing a lawsuit against them and why they won and everything. I think it's BS anyway, though. Each woman settled for $60,000, giving a grand total of $180,000. Most problems stem from the Brooklyn Central booking, where there weren't female officers present. Back in March 2015, a policy was changed for people who refused to take off their headscarves, making it mandatory for a female officer to be present. When GE, one of these people, got to Brooklyn Central booking, she was informed that the camera was in a fixed spot and that there were no women who could take the photo. GE claims that a male officer took her picture without the hijab. The teen, well, of course she's a teen, claims to have felt exposed, violated, and distraught for having to remove her headpiece for approximately 20 minutes while policemen and prisoners watched.
I don't even...
Do you know, have you seen pictures of Iran back in the 70s?
Well, probably.
It may as well have been in America.
Yeah.
That's how free people dressed and everything. Like the women wore what the women here were wearing in the 70s. The men were walking around in like bell bottoms and everything too. And it was a freer style of living. Like we like to think, looking at it now, that this is like a ancient type of barbaric dust barrel bowl type situation where they're so stuck in the past. Yeah, exactly. That they've been wearing hijabs and everything for such a long time, and they're just used to this as a tradition. Right? That's not the case. Like this is actually a pretty recent thing that they went through, and we're supposed to be upset that this girl feels exposed, violated, and distraught because a woman wasn't there to take her picture when basically the hijab is there as an oppressive symbol in her own religion, right? And if there's no female cops available to help out with that, too bad. It has to get done. You know what I mean? You're not talking about going through one of those airport TSA body scan machines where you can see every nook and cranny of someone. You know, you're not talking about someone patting you down and actually going up in your nook and crannies,
which has happened to me at the airport. While my brother and my friends laughed like crazy.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean,
I'm just saying there.
They told you just to go through the express line. You were like, "Can I actually go over in that line?"
They're just randomly picking people out, right? My brother, my buddies all get through. They're all waiting, and they just see me there. It's like, did you tip them?
And they always pick out the worst people to look at too, like old women in wheelchairs and little 5-year-old kids.
Yep.
Just so that you don't look like you're discriminating against anyone.
Yep.
Because it's the old grandmas that are planting bombs in their underwear. Oh my word.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the 3 Muslim women that...
It was a bachelor party trip, and I had the most fun at the airport on the way there.
Yeah, you saw the most action the whole trip.
Yep.
All right, so this was actually pretty big news besides the whole gun debate. A transgender boy won the girls' state wrestling title for a second time.
Yeah, of course.
Let me repeat that headline a little slower this time.
Yeah.
A transgender boy won the girls' state wrestling title for a second time. So what we're talking about here, because it can get confusing.
Oh, I was totally confused until I kind of really read through the article.
Is this was a girl who now identifies as a boy and is going through the change, right? Wrestling girls.
Yeah.
Okay? Do you get that?
Yeah.
Are you still confused at all?
No,
You should be.
I'm crystal clear on what's going on.
If that's crystal clear, I would hate to see what murky is.
Yeah. What's going on is a girl on steroids is wrestling girls.
Crazy, right?
That's what's happening.
Yes. So, Mac Beggs, an 18-year-old senior from Ulysses Trinity High School near Dallas, entered the tournament in Cyprus outside of Houston with an undefeated record. Isn't that coincidental? That's so crazy. Man. This is a good wrestler.
Wow.
That's crazy. He beat Chelsea Sanchez, who he beat for the title in 2017 in the final match on Saturday. So Chelsea has been robbed twice in 2 years. Yeah. Here's a chick who is wrestling the proper way, should have won both years, and was robbed because a man beat her.
I won't even say that.
We'll go
I'll say a mentally unfit girl on steroids beat her twice.
Beggs is in the process of transitioning from female to male and taking testosterone. It was his steroid therapy treatments while wrestling girls that stirred a fierce debate about competitive fairness and transgender rights last season. It's been a lot quieter since last year when his march to a state championship was dogged by a last-minute lawsuit that tried to stop him. Well, yes, of course. You know? So my question, and it was answered in this article, was if you're transitioning to a boy, wrestle the boys.
One thing I did read in the article, and I don't know if it comes up here later, is that he does want to wrestle boys. So it's
a state law that you can't.
It's the whole thing is just it's creating this tangled web of what the heck are we supposed to do in this upside down.
What do I do with my hands? I don't know. Well, you can't put them in there. That's for sure. There's a reason why. So, Beggs had asked to wrestle in the boys' division, but the rules for Texas public high schools require athletes to compete under the gender on their birth certificate. Okay? So, if we're going to go along with this, and obviously there's no going back. The genie's out of the bottle, right?
Yeah.
Some other things pop out of the bottle too sometimes, apparently, too. But if we're going off of this, if this is the norm now, then this person, the state law should change so that he could compete with the boys, okay?
Yeah.
Because they're decimating and hurting the girls, okay? And that's because he's taking testosterone, okay? So he has so much respect for all the girls he wrestles, said Beggs' mother, Angela McNew.
Let's unpack that statement for a second.
Don't say unpack and he in the same sentence.
He has so much respect for all the girls he wrestles.
Yeah.
The girls he wrestles.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, it gets better.
Yeah.
People think Mac has been beating up on girls. Well, it's not thinking, it's knowing.
Yeah.
The girls he wrestles with, they're tough. It has more to do with skill and discipline than strength.
No, wrestling.
No, it has to do with strength.
Strength has a lot to do with.
Specifically.
Yeah.
It's very
Strength,
specific.
Yeah. Skill and discipline are in there, but strength is a big part of wrestling.
Oh my gosh. So, blame the state law, not the testosterone, right?
Yes. I don't know. But even if but the testosterone is still a performance enhancing drug.
Yes.
So, okay, the state law requires her to stay whatever.
This is crystal clear, Mike.
Yeah.
You said it's crystal clear.
But, okay, if she's in there, then she also should be violating a rule of performance-enhancing drugs and be disqualified from competition altogether.
Yeah. And it's like they're saying, well, he has to compete, and this is the only way he can compete. Well, no. You, again, like the internet, you don't have a right to that.
Yeah. Like how you're still breaking a rule by taking human growth hormone, testosterone, steroids. This is opening the door for a boy wrestling boys saying, I identify as a boy with more testosterone than I have.
Yeah.
So I can take steroids.
Yeah.
And you can't ban me from it.
Yeah.
Because I don't identify as this level of testosterone.
You can also
boy.
identify as a chicken and try to wrestle around laying an egg and not breaking it. I mean, so the mother is obviously a little cuckoo herself. Beggs' road to the championship last season included 2 forfeits in the regional tournament by wrestlers who feared injury.
Yeah.
And Beggs faced only 1 forfeit this season. The opposing coach and teammates had insisted the girl wrestle Beggs, but she refused.
Yep.
Well, can you blame her? You know?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Like you said, it's so. Now the problem here, I think, again, besides the obvious, is the state law. You know, if you're allowing someone to go through this transition in the school years and taking growth hormones and everything, then it is completely unfair for them to be competing against girls. If you're transitioning to a man and taking testosterone, which is increasing and funking up your body mechanics, right?
But on the flip side, I like the state law because if it was a boy that was transitioning a girl, I wouldn't want him wrestling girls.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Because this all comes down to the MMA fighter, Fallon Fox. Have you seen videos of this dude punching chicks in the head?
Yeah.
Like
he cracks their skulls, right?
Clearly a man punching a chick. Like he throws punches like a dude. He wrestles like a dude. Like it's the totally different body structure, bone density. Like, you know, it's so the law is protect.
I'll tell you what I do with my hands.
I broke a nail.
But here's
chipped my nail polish. You're gonna get it.
It's the elbow. But here's the problem with that. Yeah, there's that back and forth where a guy is competing in the girls and decimates them, or a guy identifies as a girl and comes down to the girls' league, and so either way is going to have its screw ups, right? Who gets screwed here? Always the women.
Oh yeah.
No matter what you do, the women are getting screwed.
Yep.
So where are the feminists? Where are the feminists?
It's not about being feminist now. It's about being all inclusive, accepting.
Not true.
Everything.
Feminists actually have a big problem with the transgender community, from what I hear. Okay.
I haven't heard that.
Wouldn't you know, too? This is not my opinion. I'm just throwing it out there. One of the volunteers I was hanging out with down at CPAC was a gay black dude. Okay. And he brought up transgenders.
A conservative gay black dude?
A conservative black dude.
Oh my God.
And I said, I don't see a unicorn horn.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, but he was talking about transgenders, and he said that a lot of people in his LGBT community believe that the T should be left off because it's a completely different thing.
Yep.
You know? Where LGB deals with sexual preference, then you're talking about gender, and it's a different thing. That's just what he said. He said it's a common topic within the community, and I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Makes sense.
But yeah, again, the feminists should be angry here because either way, the women are getting screwed. This Chelsea should have won 2 years in a row.
Yep.
She trained her butt off, was at the top of her game as a woman, and was beat because she competed against a man.
Yep.
You know?
Or at least let's see what this girl got. What her skill level is without testosterone.
Yeah, well, I would like to see him compete against the boys and just get decimated. Like throw it to the other end of the scale for him. You know?
And now the other thing too is if he was able to do that, you don't know you're the other boys that he would have to compete against now are in like a, you know, would you want to wrestle against, you know? I mean, you put your hand. Wrestling's a very contact sport. Grappling. You put your hand in the wrong place, and all of a sudden, she's a girl again. You molested her.
That's a good point.
You know, all of a sudden, you know,
yeah,
it's crazy.
It opens up to a whole different bag of
anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Something.
Cats and dogs living together.
Where do I put my hands? Sound like Seinfeld. What is the world coming to?
Oh, man.
Okay, so let's go back to these fake crime things that are going on. No jail time for the Texas teen who lied about being raped by 3 black men. This is a blonde teenager, white girl.
Yep.
Okay. The North Texas teenager who falsely claimed she was kidnapped and raped by 3 black men last March will likely serve no jail time. On Thursday, 19-year-old Brianna Harmon of Pottsboro pleaded guilty to 4 felony charges of tampering with physical evidence and government documents in relation to false reports of kidnapping and sexual assault. She's very remorseful for what she did and what she said, and that's why she decided to plead guilty, Harmon's attorney Bob Jarvis said to the Sherman Herald Democrat. No suspects were ever identified or arrested in the case. Harmon will be sentenced on March 20th. Her plea deal has 2 possible punishments: regular probation or deferred adjudication. Yeah, which often involves fulfilling a requirement such as treatment or community service. Neither involves jail time.
That's crazy,
isn't it? On March 8th of last year, Harmon was reported missing to the Denison Police Department after witnesses noticed the door to her vehicle was open with personal items, including a phone and keys, scattered on the ground. A few hours later, Harmon walked into a church wearing only a shirt, bra, and underwear. She said she had been kidnapped by 3 black males wearing ski masks, according to the Sherman Herald-Democrat. Harmon claimed that the men assaulted her and that she was raped by 2 men while a third held her down. Investigators noticed inconsistencies in Harmon's story within a few days. Medical workers didn't find evidence she had been raped, and the holes in a pair of blue jeans discovered at the alleged crime scene didn't match her injuries, according to the Dallas Morning News. Harmon told police 2 weeks later that she made up the rape and that the cuts on her body were self-inflicted. So what was really going on? That's what's not in this story.
Yeah.
Was she high on some sort of crazy drug or something at the time?
So there's that last bit of the cuts are self-inflicted. Now I'm thinking, okay, there's a mental issue here, obviously.
With most teens today.
Yeah, right.
They're eating Tide Pods for crying out loud.
I know. Yeah. So that's going on. But I mean, what would, if this did happen and these guys were found guilty, what would the penalty have been? However many years in jail, I think she should at least get half that.
Yep.
Like if their penalty would have been 30 years in jail, she should at least get 15.
Yep.
You know, if not matching it exactly, because that's a horrendous thing to do. Now,
and with the way things are, it would have been considered a hate crime.
A hate crime. Yeah, reverse double hate crime.
Yeah.
Cats and dogs.
They put their hands.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just, that's crazy, you know. And the one thing you said here too, like the statement that her lawyer put out or whoever, she's very remorseful for what she did and what she said.
She's not.
She's very remorseful
That
for
she got
getting caught.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, the plan didn't work. Now she's, oh crap, I feel bad.
Oh, so bad.
You know. But you know, but if she's going to the point of cutting herself, you know, there's definitely something wrong upstairs.
Matt shared a story, a woman who lied to police about 3 black men raping. Let's see what.
You're getting comments I'm not getting in here.
Oh yeah. Faces 0 years in prison. Okay, that's what we just said. Blah, 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 goes over everything. The alleged rape of an innocent white girl. Yeah, look at her. She's like a little blonde white girl who said that. Even though no one claims to have saw something, the alt-right began explaining how they had been warning. Yeah, of course the alt-right is going to jump in on that. And we take offense to the alt-right even being considered part of the conservative movement, as we talked about with the whole Charlottesville incident. So it's in the comments section if anybody's interested in reading it out. I don't see how it's bringing anything new to the discussion, but it's there. Okay, so speaking of fake attacks, Buzzfeed is telling readers to beware of false claims of attacks at Black Panther screenings. So this was from 2 weeks ago. Trolls on Twitter are trying to stoke outrage by making false claims of racially motivated assaults at screenings of Black Panther. So here's what one tweet said. I was brutally attacked by some black thugs at the Black Panther premiere because they said whites weren't allowed to watch this movie. Some trolls are using images of battered women to make their false claims. Some troll accounts also tried to circulate claims that people in Make America Great Again hats were attacking theatergoers at Black Panther screenings, which was also not true. I think they updated this story because the first time I posted it, that wasn't in there. And I think they got heat for it. You know? So this tweet said, went to a hashtag Black Panther screening with my girlfriend. 2 white men in MAGA hats jumped me and said the movie was bad and that blacks are subhumans who deserve to be beaten. Can't believe this happened on such a special night. Yeah, special night. We'll go over that. But here's what I said in the original post, right, on the Facebook page. Where was BuzzFeed with all the attacks that turned out to be false last year? with Trump supporters
right after the election.
Yeah, when everybody was saying that Trump supporters were attacking people, the Muslim teen on the subway, the black girl on campus that was attacked by a couple Trump supporting like prep boys or something like that. They were all proven false. Yep. We've talked before about my friend who posted them, and I privately sent her a message saying that they were proven false. You should update the story. They refused to do it because, again, the agenda is greater than the truth
fit the narrative
to them.
Yep.
And where's BuzzFeed on those? They were guilty of putting out those stories at the time. They never updated them.
Yeah.
You know? So this kind of stuff just really pisses me off.
They were too busy making some stupid day in the life of a porn star video or whatever.
Yeah. These 10 sex toys are changing people's lives, and you won't believe what number 6 is.
Goes perfectly with number 9.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so while we're on the topic of Black Panther, some cool news about the movie surfaced last week. Actors in the record-breaking Hollywood blockbuster are crediting their Christian faith for guiding them. Letitia Wright? Letitia. Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, she was one of my favorite parts of the movie, which we'll get to in the review.
Yeah, plays a major role in the movie as Shuri, the younger sister of T'Challa, who is the Black Panther, played by Chadwick Boseman. Wright explained how acting became an idol in her life, leading her to seek God for happiness and security instead. She told ITV's Good Morning Show, "I was going through a very difficult time in my life, and I just needed to take a break from acting because I realized I was idolizing it. So I came off it, and I went on a journey to discover God and my relationship with God, and I became a Christian. It really just gave me so much love and light within myself. I felt secure, and I felt like I didn't need validation from anyone else or from getting a part. My happiness wasn't dependent on that. It was dependent on my relationship with God." That's like a relationship is a two-way thing. Is she crazy? Joy Behar would say she's crazy.
Totally crazy. Yep.
"I'm centered in who I am, and I'm really grateful. I'm not perfect, especially as a Christian. You're not perfect, but you're walking every day and trying to just stay connected. And yeah, it's helped me a lot. So I'm really grateful." So that was really cool. As we will talk more in the podcast. Plus, she's gorgeous.
Yep.
Just saying. She plays a 16-year-old in the movie, but she's 24 or something like that.
So it's fine for you to say
okay.
that. You got to pass.
I thought she was really pretty, but she. As comic book nerds and everything, she's smarter than everyone on Earth, basically, including Tony Stark.
And I'm sure we'll talk about it in the review, but one of the things people are really looking forward to is if she might pop in Avengers Infinity War, and if she would have a scene with Tony Stark. And Tony Stark
she is
be all
be
like,
in Infinity War.
Yeah, and
Do you hear that they moved it up a week now?
Yeah, to April
27th.
27th?
Yeah.
And Tony Stark being all Tony Starky, and she's like, "Listen, dude."
Yeah, puts him in his place.
Yeah.
That'll be funny.
"Listen, you colonizer."
Oh boy.
Yep.
Sophie Aluka, that's what I'm going with, who plays Shaman in the movie, told OK Africa that being on the set was sometimes similar to a religious experience, according to FaithWire. "It felt very familiar and like home. We had early call times, but I didn't even feel the long set hours because it was such a good time. I didn't feel like I was amongst stars. Everyone was so down to earth and normal. During breaks, we shared our testimony of how we got to where we did, and most of the people were testifying to God's miracles. It was almost like church." That's really cool. There's a couple things that you can't share in Hollywood. Your Christian faith, your political ideology, if you lean to the right at all.
Yep.
If you're anywhere right of Karl Marx, you're cast out, right? And if you're a white male, you pretty much have a hard time at this point.
A white straight male.
Yeah. Unless you're established like Johnny Depp or Robert Downey Jr. or something like that.
Yep.
So it's really cool that they're being very open about this. That's neat. I like it.
Yeah. The left are having a really hard time jumping on him for it because, like, oh man, are we going to criticize the African American females? Oh man,
Black Panther was the best movie of all time according to Rotten Tomatoes because we can't criticize a black film at all. Set in Africa, can't do it. Well, we're going to tonight. Okay, so a panel at Portland State University was explaining the biological differences between men and women. Nothing too controversial. Okay, you would think. But there was suddenly some backlash. Who would have thought? Because, no one's looking to be offended anymore by anything. So let's take a look at this video here.
You could be irritated by it. You could be irritated by the fact that women have to be the ones to gestate and lactate. You could be irritated by a lot of truths. But taking offense is a response that is rejection of reality. So men and women are different on height. They're different on muscle mass. They're different on where fat is deposited on our bodies, right? Our brains are also different. So there are some binaries.
Oh, wow. Security! This is what happens. Oh, did they shut off the volume? Can you hear? Can everybody hear?
Even the women in there have been brainwashed.
Should not listen to fascism. It should not be tolerated in civil society. Nazis are not welcome in civil society.
In case you aren't watching the video as we're playing it there. What?
I just saw the guy with like the blue hair.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that was a chick.
What? Yes. Oh my God. Cats and dogs.
What should they do with their hands? Yeah, pretty bad. So, in case you're just listening to the podcast, one thing that you're not seeing is the fact that on the way out from this woman just simply explaining the biological differences between men and women, being that men are taller.
Men can lactate.
Yeah. I'm so upset. I'm starting to do right now. that fatty deposits on the body happen to be in different spots for men and women, and these kids get up and walk out. Bye.
There was one kid laughing. That was funny.
There were a bunch of them laughing. But then on the way out, they sabotaged the sound system so that no one could continue with the discussion. And for explaining science, apparently we're the science deniers, right? Explaining science that men and women are biologically different. I'm not talking about transgenders or anything, just biological male and female bodies are different. You're a Nazi now.
Yeah, yep. Someone clearly has no idea what the Nazis did.
Seriously.
Clearly no idea.
Someone needs to sit down and watch Schindler's List.
Didn't we talk about a story a long time ago about how they're not even teaching, like, World War II?
No, Common Core, a lot of Common Core curriculums out there teach World War II without ever mentioning Hitler's name.
Yeah, okay. Hitler
so they may
specifically.
still mention Nazis, but my word.
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
Yeah.
Who led them?
Yeah.
Who was the ideological bearer and leader of that movement?
Yeah, could you imagine them watching like some World War II and you're like, hey, who's that guy with the funny mustache? I never heard of him. Like, what?
I saw a really good video one time of Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
Is that Charlie Chaplin?
Charlie Chaplin played this guy who was like in charge of all the Nazis. Yeah. Oh my God. It's crazy.
Bye. So what, I mean, this is just where we're at with things right now, is the fact that, it used to be racist, homophobic, sexist, misogynist, whatever, like, just, at this point, they have used it so much, the left, that, you used to be, as a conservative, as soon as you were called racist, you're like, God damn, I gotta shut up. Because, I'm not a racist, and I'm just trying to explain I don't agree with Obama's policies. I could go on all day without mentioning the color of his skin, but I'm a racist. Apparently I'm a racist. So I can't even make the argument. They have overused it so much now, that and sexist and misogynist and bigot and everything else, that at this point, you're like looking them dead in the eyes and are like, no. It's water off of my back, man. Yeah. Like, now I'm going to hit you with some facts.
Yeah.
Because that's where we have gotten to the point where we have to stand firm on the facts, deliver the truth, and just go full steam ahead, right?
Facts as basic as women lactate, men don't.
Yes. But that blue-haired one, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Either or. It's a coin flip.
But the fact of the matter is now they have gotten to the point where everybody on the right is a Nazi, right? Do you know what Nazi stands for?
Oh man,
God, you were on the right track.
National. I know it's
it's on your button.
Socialist,
Yeah, National Socialist Party.
Yeah.
Right. So really, it's an extreme leftist ideology of central government control. Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's one of the first things the Nazis did: take away your guns.
Yep. No kidding, and execute people. Yep. So you have that, and they've gone to calling Trump a Nazi and everything. Mm-hmm. This is the insane arguments that the left is having, right? Mm-hmm. Trump is a Nazi. He's a fascist dictator. But only the government and should have guns. Yeah. You want a fascist dictatorship to have the guns? Yeah. Like, what? Yeah. The police over the last how many years, because of Obama's administration, the police are brutal jerks that you shouldn't trust police officers, but they're the only ones that should have guns now. Yeah. What? Yeah. Like, these are the arguments that are happening here.
Yeah. It reminds me of something you bring up all the time. I think Philip DeFranco brought it up the same exact point about how, like, when you're making certain arguments or trying to pass certain laws or certain policies, you have to know that the other side will have power, and they will have the things that you gave them, and so
it's a pendulum effect.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's insane. Okay, so that was just, man, I can't stand these people. You all right?
Yeah, this thing came off. It's fine.
You sure?
Yep. Stick it right back on my button there. Good to go.
I got him a little button from CPAC. Yeah. It says socialism sucks.
Socialism sucks. Pretty happy about it.
In our that escalated quickly file for the day, a man 30 who's 30 years old bragged on Facebook about raping and murdering children. Why would he do that? To draw the attention of authorities so he could expose how the 2016 elections was hijacked. What? So Brian Gann, who's 30, was indicted for child rape, harassment, stalking, and retaliation on Monday in Rowan County, Tennessee court. The Knoxville man was arrested after he claimed in an online post to have raped a child. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, this guy's mentally unstable, first of all, right?
A lot of those going around lately.
Yeah. But he's saying this stuff to get the attention to talk about a hacked election hacked election, right? So you're thinking to yourself, okay, at least he just said it and didn't do it, right?
Oh, jeez.
Gann said he made the statements to get the attention of law enforcement so they could detail how the presidential election was hacked, but when investigators looked into the child rape claim, they discovered there was some truth to it. Yep. Gann has since been accused of raping a child under the age of 13 at least 6 times between January 2006 and April 2007. So, guess what didn't come out? Anything about a hacked election. From his claim there.
Somewhere my plan went wrong.
Yeah. Maybe it was when I decided to sexually abuse a child. Yeah. What a bunch of sickos.
Maybe I should have picked a crime that I didn't actually commit.
Yeah, seriously.
For my little ruse
I stole a bike.
here.
I stole a bike. Now that you're here, I have to tell you about the hacked election.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Well, I feel a Bernie Sanders impression coming on here. Yahoo News wants you to know 5 things about Levi Sanders, Bernie Sanders' son, who is running for Congress. And number 4 will stun you.
Yahoo News, where we've already established no one goes.
This is one of Katie Couric's stories, probably. Yeah. So a grand total of me has read it. Oh my gosh. In a statement on his campaign website, Sanders said he will run in New Hampshire's 1st congressional district for a seat currently held by Representative Carol Shea Porter, another Democrat, or a Democrat, right, because he's socialist. So Shea Porter announced last October that she would not be running for re-election. And here are the top 5 things you should know about Sanders. He's living up to the Sanders brand. This crusty old socialist brand, apparently. Talk about, that is like the perfect definition of a cracker, isn't it?
Yeah.
crusty old socialist.
Oh, man.
Sanders is running on a platform that mirrors, in part, that of his father, who defeated Clinton in the New Hampshire primary back in 2016. The basic difference is that I'm a vegetarian and he's not. He, Sanders told the Vice News. By the way, Vice News was down at CPAC. I'm waiting to see the story that comes out of there. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's going to be all neo-Nazis that met up in a movement.
Yeah.
He touts the need for a Medicare for all healthcare system, tuition-free public schools, and a boost to the minimum wage, which obviously does wonders out on the West Coast.
I saw a quick side note. I'm gonna have an ADD moment as well. I saw a really funny meme come up about the gun debate going on, and it said, unlike healthcare, you actually do have a right to bear arms,
Yeah.
and I demand that the government buy me an AR-15 for free.
Yeah, exactly.
Using the old Bernie Sanders free healthcare as a right.
I think Dana Lausch at one point in time said, all these women who are demanding that we provide free tampons to them, while I'm on the other side saying, well, you should be buying my ammunition.
Yeah.
Number 2, he doesn't live in the district that he's running for.
Nice.
It's worth noting that although Sanders is running in the New Hampshire's first, he resides in Claremont, which is in the state's 2nd congressional district. Representative Ann Custer, a Democrat, represents the 2nd district and is running for re-election. Candidates are only required to live in the state, not the district, to run for office. So, how do you represent your district when you don't even live in it?
Yeah.
We did a story on this last year, too. Remember the person who walked that whole long way to... Something about walking a long distance for the... Oh, it would take like half the day to walk from his district just to get from his home in his district to get into the district he was running for.
Nice. Oh, man.
He has never held public office, kind of like his dad, who never had a real job before Congress either. Levi ran for city council in Claremont at the age of 40, but finished 7th out of 9 candidates. So he did really good. Mm-hmm. 3rd place out of the last 3. He has worked with...
It's like that girl who duped the Olympic rules. You hear about her?
No.
So her dream was to be an Olympian.
Yeah.
So she
go for curling.
She was a skier, but she was criticized because she didn't even do any tricks because she just didn't want to fall.
Yeah.
But you had to qualify. I think you had to be in the top 35 of all the meets. So she just went to meets that had less than 35 people. And she got in and she became an Olympian. So she's just like working the rules just to get in there. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Levi ran for the city council in Claremont at age 40, but finished 7th out of 9 candidates. He has worked with his father on his political campaign, serving as a senior aide during his 2016 campaign for the presidency and as a consultant on his bid for the Senate. According to what appears to be his LinkedIn page, Levi, however, has spent the bulk of his career working as a Social Security benefits specialist. Of course. Number 4. This is the one. No, the race will be tough. So I said, I wonder if Hillary paid off top people in this race as well to declare opposition to a Sanders the winner. That's why the race will be tough. Because the joke there is that Hillary Clinton screwed over Bernie Sanders and worked
completely
with the DNC to win the election. Anyway, there are now 8 Democratic candidates in the race and 3 Republicans. Some of the organizations that supported the elder Sanders in the 2016 primary have already lined up behind other candidates in the race, not Sanders. The seat itself has bounced back and forth between Democratic and Republican control over the past few election cycles. I'm just taking a guess here. I think we're going to pick up seats. I really do. Mm-hmm. Things were really on track for Republicans since the State of the Union, right?
Yep.
This school shooting is the wrench in everything, right? We'll see how that plays out. I think that it's the extreme opinions that are being heard. I think there's a lot of people in the middle of the country right now that are like, listen, something needs to be done, but you also have to recognize this is a right that people have.
Yep.
And I think that they're weighing those options while the stupid people like David Hogwash are being heard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? His name's actually Hog, but I say Hogwash.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think of how many people out there feel the way I do. I don't own a firearm. I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment, but I don't own one. But anytime there's a shooting or something like this, I don't think take away all the guns. I think I never wanted to buy one more than ever than now.
Yeah, I wanted to join the NRA. I never had an urge to join the NRA.
Yeah.
You know, but I for $40 a year. Yeah, I kind of want to now.
Yeah, it's making you want to.
Yeah,
it's almost like all the hate Trump gets makes me like him more, even though he does stuff that I think
he
is
does
crazy.
Stupid things, and you're like, I don't really like this guy. But geez, it's driving them crazy.
Then
and it's
you
making me
see
so happy.
a Rachel Maddow show, and you're like, God, I just want him to win. I want him to crush them.
All right, we'll get to number 5 here. He's not the only Sanders running for higher office. Who's really surprised by this? Sanders' stepsister, Karina Driscoll, recently announced that she is running for mayor in Burlington, the position that launched Senator Bernie Sanders' political career. Driscoll, by the way, is the one that we talked about last year in the podcast,
the college
who was
scandal.
wrapped up in her mother's scandal with Burlington College that sank the college because of what her mother did.
Yep.
And she's running for mayor of that town.
Yep.
Like, let's get rid of the Sanders. I don't mean like in the context of the national discussion right now, get rid of her. But let's just push the Sanders into a cupboard somewhere and let them collect dust a little bit more than they already have.
Just put them in a box and ship them to Venezuela. They can live out in their glorious.
You know what that's like? That's like taking a zoo animal that was born into captivity and releasing them into the jungle. Like they go, they're like, "Is this fantastic?" Oh my God!
It's like the movie Madagascar.
Yeah, socialist paradise.
Or they'll be like, "This isn't what I thought it was."
I thought it was supposed to be super great. What do you mean we got to kill these zoo animals to eat? What's going on?
Why is there no food? The government should be giving everyone food.
I demand it. Nope, that's not the way your socialist system works, buddy. All right, finally, Angela Merkel admits that there are no-go areas in Germany that nobody dares to enter. Okay, so we've talked about this too, that over in Europe, there are places, and people like leftists will argue with you on this and say that it is absolutely not true. Because of the migration situation of refugees and everything, there are places in England, okay? There are places in Germany. There's places in France where police officers will chase people, stop at the border of this area, turn around and not continue to chase.
Like Sin City.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, you're absolutely right. Because they have
don't go into Old Town.
Yeah, because they have their own laws there, and it's Muslims. Okay, that is the problem. They don't mention that in this article, but that's what they're talking about. I mean, like, there's no way around it. They're essentially, the cops, the authorities know that if they go into these areas, they have the potential to be killed, right? And the governments have lost control of being authority figures in these areas. It's absolutely sickening. So the chancellor said that there are parts of her country that police and others fear going into. She argued a zero-tolerance approach to crime must not tolerate such areas. Her spokesman, Stefan Siebert, declined to name the specific locations today. He said that Merkel's words speak for themselves, leaving some officials speechless. Officials have previously dismissed the notion there are places in the country that police and other outsiders can't visit. She said, there are such areas and one has to call them by their name and do something about them. Just not her, apparently. I mean, she refuses to acknowledge the type of people there. Muslim.
Yeah.
And where they are and call them out by name and where the areas are and everything, right? She's like basically saying we should be doing that, but I'm not going to do it.
Someone else should.
Because she knows her safety is at risk, right? That's unbelievable. So while you were speaking on the Olympics and everything, Olympian silver medal winner Lauren Gibbs decried the hate that she got from both sides for posting a photo of herself and Ivanka Trump on social media. President Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump, participated in the closing ceremonies at the Olympics, but when Gibbs posted a photo of themselves celebrating, she says she was attacked by Trump critics on social media. One exchange accused her of being, quote, used for propaganda. After she pointed out that she had asked for the photo, another said Lauren Gibbs got played like a fiddle. Trump's love photo ops with uneducated, unsuspecting blacks. Trump's love photo ops with uneducated, right there. That should say it all. They can't even spell or use proper grammar, but they're calling her uneducated. Gibbs responded, "It's funny because the people you hate so much treated me with more respect than you have. I have 2 degrees and the ability to think for myself." Bye.
Idiots,
Choosing to
man.
spread love is never a bad thing, even if it's explaining bobsled to a politician's daughter. The only way to fight hate and bigotry is through love, she concluded. Gibbs appeared to admit that she also had gotten criticism from Trump supporters when she took the photo down. "I deleted, by choice, the photo because I was tired of reading the hate being thrown back and forth. Whether you hate me for posting or hate me for taking it down, you are the same. Hate from either side is hate."
She's absolutely right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, now, I'm not throwing hate here. I don't think she should have taken it down because I think people should see these people and what they say, you know? And it's better to know people and where they stand, you know?
No, I think she should have taken it down? No. But I understand entirely, you know, where she's not there for politics, you know.
No.
She's and she's getting just all this stuff thrown at her. So, you know, her statements I think are strong enough too of what she's saying is you know, it's funny that the people you hate so much treated me with much more respect than you ever did, you know, and calling her uneducated and everything like that, you know. So I mean, I just want to say that I'm proud that she was representing our country in the Olympics. And she's right too. Like, so someone you disagree with politically, you can't talk about sports with. I mean, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
You know?
You can actually scroll down there, by the way, on the comments section.
Okay.
It looks, yeah.
Yeah, but this is the new stuff's at the top.
Oh, okay. All right. It goes the opposite direction for me. Okay, so CNN is reporting that Gorsuch, Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch, is silent as the court is sharply divided on union fees. I get worked up on unions, okay? I understand the benefit of a union and everything. I just don't like the way they work. It basically works like communism, if you ask me, okay? The Supreme Court on Monday appeared sharply divided in a case pitting organized labor against conservative groups in a case that could deal a potentially crippling blow to public sector unions and hurt their Democratic Party allies. The court's 4 liberals seem to back the union's position. Of course. You know why?
Get a lot of moolah.
Yeah, because the unions donate more money to the Democratic campaigns than by anyone, by far on the right.
Yep.
Conservatives, including Chief Justice John Roberts, who I wouldn't consider conservative, Anthony Kennedy, and Samuel Alito, appeared ready to rule against the unions and maybe even overturn the court's 41-year-old precedent. Justice Clarence Thomas didn't speak out but is expected to rule against the unions. But conservative Justice Neil Gorsuch was silent. So here's the thing. I mean, if Roberts is against him, he has a very good chance of going against the unions then, because he's always that. Now he's that fence vote. You know? At the center of the debate is a 1977 Supreme Court opinion known as Abood, I don't know what it is, versus Detroit Board of Education that says while non-members of public sector unions cannot be required to pay fees for a union's political activities, they can be required to pay so-called fair share fees pertaining to issues such as employee grievances, physical safety, and training. So, not be required to pay fees for a union's political activities. But that's what they're used for.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's so stupid. So essentially, the biggest problem that I have with unions, first of all, I believe that there's a purpose for unions when it comes to firemen, police officers, and people who risk their lives, right? Which I'm sure you could turn that statement around and say everyone, teachers risk their lives too. Look at what happened in Florida. I'm sure that could be thrown back at me, you know? But I'm talking about like,
it's actually part of the job description.
Exactly.
Not an anomaly.
But the fact of the matter is, like I said, political donations by unions are by far one of the, if not the biggest contributor in campaigns on either side, right? And the biggest problem I have with it is when you get to be a teacher, especially in Pennsylvania here and everything, you have to join the union, right? You don't have a choice. And you have to have your dues paid too. Like, you could completely disagree. If I wanted to be a history teacher and actually teach history, which they're not, right? I would have to pay and watch my money go towards like a Hillary Clinton campaign. How frustrating is that? You know? It's ridiculous. There's right to work states down south where the unions aren't even allowed, I guess, that they act like, if you take away union dues and you take away the unions, then schools will be firing teachers left and right and everything. Well, that's not what happens in the South, where right to work states are, right? It's not the model that's out there. It's a clear contrast on what happens, and more money is that you earn is put back into your wallet. And that's the important part. You get to decide where to put it. If you want to give to a political campaign, then give to the one that you want to give to. It's I can't stand union dues and what they do to our political system. Anything else on that at all?
No. Just soaking in the info on that one.
Forget it. I don't care. Friggin' unions, man. Whatever. This is a bunch of people representing.
So, but what's the with Neil Gorsuch staying silent? He's still expected.
He hasn't said anything.
But he's still expected to vote with the rest of the conservatives.
Well, I mean, he's smart, is what they're saying. Smartly silent. Okay, so last week I was down at CPAC. Which was down at National Harbor in Maryland, right outside Washington, D.C. If you have the opportunity, I would encourage you to actually go onto YouTube and watch the best speeches in this order, from best to still really good. Dana Lausch, Ben Shapiro, I would say, Donald Trump, Nigel Farage, then Mike Pence, Mark Levin. And then also the panel that included Lawrence Jones and Candace Owens was really good too. But while I was there, I actually had the opportunity to interview Kira Innes, who we've been talking about for a while, a brown conservative who, self-proclaimed, who is a female, obviously too, and lives in Los Angeles, California. So here is a brown conservative female wearing a MAGA hat all the time, let me tell you. Every time she pops up in a viral video, she's always wearing that hat. Big Trump supporter, loves Trump, loves him. He's great. He's always great. He does great things. Great hats. And we talked about, we've been talking about stories out of California for weeks now, just craziness. And I said I want to interview you and talk about California politics and everything. So things that we covered were the mass exodus of people from San Francisco because of the liberal policies, the decriminalization of the intentional spreading of HIV out there. We talked about the surprising case where a California judge ruled in favor of the Christian bakers over the lesbian couple that were asking for a wedding cake. We talked about the streets running brown and yellow with the feces and urine of the homeless population that Nancy Pelosi refuses to stand up for in Congress and help out, but she'll stand for 8 hours and talk about the illegal immigrants and how they deserve her help. We talked about being a conservative out in California and the split, the new California trying to split off and be their own state. It was really cool. So right now we're going to get into that interview. We're going to show you the interview itself. We covered a range of topics. It was really great. And we'll talk a little bit more after that then. Hey everyone, Chris Ford here at CPAC this year with the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. One of the interviews that I've been talking about for a long time now, coming up that I was planning on doing was with Kira.
who's joined with me today. And we have some things that we've been talking about on the podcast.
Yes, we do.
In regards to California. California keeps on coming up in what's going on with the national scene as far as different stories coming out of there. It deals with cultural stories, political stories, religious stories that we've been covering throughout the past year. And well, I was really excited because you and I speak on the phone every now and then.
Yes, we do.
We've met the last 2 years at CPAC, right? And it's been an interesting one. This we just got done. Basically, this conference is coming to an end right now.
Up.
We're at the Gaylord, so it's a neat backdrop for us here. How about before we get into the California politics, what do you think of this year's CPAC?
This year's CPAC was interesting, and I've been hearing people say that it was a different one than normal. There was a different kind of tone, specifically with certain groups that were at it that you wouldn't expect to see at the CPAC, and certain groups that actually weren't allowed, what I was given to believe, were not allowed to come, which also you wouldn't expect given that it's the CPAC. Also, we had newer people who are now kind of up-and-comers, I guess, making their way to the stage. I gave the invocation on Thursday, which was neat and really great. And there was a little more talk about discussions and about that need to be had. More specifically, people discussing that perhaps next year, let's have this be a topic of discussion or that. So I think we're starting to get more proactive with it, already planning for next year. Like Trump said, we got to fight for 18. And I apologize to the audience. My voice is extremely gone, but I'm fighting through it, and but also fighting for 2020, 2022, and of course the ultimate 2024. So it's going to be interesting to see what takes place next CPAC.
Yes, absolutely. So, what were your favorite parts of this CPAC?
Gosh. Other than me getting to give the invocation, which, I love as the Bible-believing evangelical, I love praying. So that was great for me to it was an honor to even be asked. But I think just getting to meet certain people, Kaya Jones, someone who she killed it with the national anthem, getting to meet one Miss Candace Owens, lovely brown conservative.
I didn't get to meet her, unfortunately.
I got to meet her backstage, so when I look forward to seeing what unfolds there.
Yes.
And just kind of really getting my bearings. This is my third CPAC. I think I finally have it figured out. Mm-hmm. So it was really more kind of my own kind of CPAC awakening.
Favorite speeches at all?
Well, obviously, my favorite speech was Trump's. I mean, I didn't even mind having my NRA segment that I was supposed to do bumped because he, carried on. But, when Trump speaks, you just got to drop everything and listen. It's like, hold on. Trump speaking. Shh. Yeah. I got to hear this, and I was like, I recorded everything on my phone. It was awesome. When he's there, everyone is just electrified. He's like this electrifying presence. So probably the highlight for me was him. And I'm not a morning person, so getting up at like 4:30 in the morning, make sure that I was dressed and ready and there on time. Yes, worth it.
Yeah, it was definitely better security this year than last year.
Yeah, and it wasn't as invasive this time. Right. They were able. They did their job. They did their due diligence. And people didn't have to take off their shoes and all that stuff. It was much more less TSA, more CPAC.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's get into California politics then, okay? So you're from California, you're in the Los Angeles area, right?
Yes.
You've actually been popping up in some of the viral videos I've been showing.
Yes, I went viral. Yes. Me of all people, I'm so low tech.
Oh, come on. You're the queen of viral around here. Every CPAC you come to so far, you're popping up in some video.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm just trying to get the message out there,
Absolutely. So, before I get into some of the topics that we've covered over the last year that I feel are it feels like it's like you're talking about an alien planet when it comes to California, What do you see as a resident of California as some of the top political issues that are out there right now?
There's so many. Give me a minute. The top political issues, if you were to ask, a Los Angelino like myself, I think many of the conservatives would say policy. As of right now, it is illegal for a waitress or waiter to give a patron a straw. without them asking for it. And they use, well, it's against the environment, but drugs, pot's okay. We're now a sanctuary state. So it went beyond San Francisco and LA being sanctuary cities. It's now the entire state. So we basically have de facto amnesty throughout the entire state. And a lot of, well, some Democrats, or at least the moderate ones, will even say, hey, I'm somewhat liberal and flexible, with the whole pathway system and all that stuff. But, we shouldn't have outright amnesty. And that's becoming an issue.
What's interesting about that, though, is it almost conflicts with a conservative ideology of states' rights, right? Yeah. So you're almost like every state should be able to decide for themselves what to do. But at the same time, I don't really feel, and I think you would be a better gauge of this, that the Californians actually wanted that, if you're talking about the majority.
They did not, and here's what, but at the same time, it gives me hope, and it's almost a sign, really. It's a federal law. See, different states have the right to enact this or that. That hasn't got to do with federal law. It's state law. But the immigration situation has nothing to do with the individual states. All states must comply and adhere and abide by federal immigration laws, because immigration has to do with the federal level. But the fact that they, in their ever corrupting, way, California swamp dwellers, and we really got to drain the Cali swamp just as much as we've got to drain the DC swamp. They saw that they were losing their grip, their strongly detailed grip on California blacks, and they're losing their grip on us throughout the country. We came out so much harder for Trump than anyone else thought, and they said, okay, well, we're losing this group. We've had it for 50, 60 plus years. Let's get these, Mexicans and other Hispanics in, let them be our new pets. Yeah. And so that's why DACA is being pushed super hard. They see they're losing us, so like, okay, fine, we'll give up a little and we'll focus on the Hispanics. And they figure, well, we'll pander to them, same as we did to the blacks, and we figure, well, they're Mexicans, so all they care about is amnesty, so we'll make California and other states sanctuary states, thus, basically achieving de facto amnesty, and then we'll have them on our side for life, at least until they wake up, and then I guess the Muslims will follow. But then the problem it'll be like Trump's speech about the snake, at the end when they bite you, it's like, silly woman, you knew I was a snake when you invited me in, and when they're beheading all these liberals, they're gonna be like, what the hell, you knew that was a snake. And that's what it is.
Now, we went to the Black Conservative Federation?
Yes, we did.
And you invited me along as a guest.
I'm sorry it took so long.
No, that's okay.
I really wasn't clear people time.
But we got to listen to some really interesting people. James, who's running for Michigan, who was awesome. Yes. I mean, we only caught the tail end of it there and everything.
I know he was good.
But then we also got to meet Star Parker, which was really cool.
Yeah, lovely
for me
woman.
Especially. You've met her before. You said at
lovely
the inauguration.
Lady, one of my friends.
But one of the things that they said there was, talking real numbers, it was 1.4 million brown people, as you like to say.
Well, that's the color of our skin. I'm starting hashtag brown.
Yeah. So that voted for Trump. And those are real numbers right there. And that was pretty surprising. But to go back to what you were talking about with amnesty and everything in California, Nancy Pelosi stood on the floor and spoke for 8 hours straight about illegal immigrants. But at the same time, back in her own state, isn't she San Francisco specifically?
Yes.
In San Francisco, they're seeing a mass exodus of citizens because of the liberal policy specifically. Exactly. And one thing that I pointed out in one of the last podcasts is she stood there for 8 hours supporting illegal immigrants, but at the same time, back in her own state, the population of the homeless is booming.
Exactly.
Of our own American citizens. And we haven't seen her stand on her feet for 1 second to talk about her own citizens here in the United States, especially in regards to something like that. And someone else was just saying in regards to California politics here at CPAC, and this is something we've talked about too, is that you can literally smell the feces and urine running down the streets because of the homeless population. And I'm not saying to like take care of that situation in pushing them off to the side and kind of getting rid of the problem, but don't you think we should be focusing on that problem and taking care of our own citizens before talking about taking care of other people that aren't our citizens?
Well, okay, what you just said was key. The problem is, and yes, Crazy Nancy did spend more time in her life advocating for criminals. Because the fact of the matter is, and they're not illegal aliens, illegal immigrants. We hear it all the time. The term is illegal aliens because you cannot be a legal illegal. An immigrant is someone who comes here legally. An alien is someone who's foreign born, who thumbs their nose at the Constitution and says, well, I don't give a flying fig. I want to come here, to heck with your laws. That's exactly what they're doing. Yeah, I know it's crappy. It's downright a blank hole in a lot of parts of Mexico. Granted, but just because you don't like a situation doesn't give you the right to break the law. Right. And it sure as heck doesn't give you the right to make your kid a party to that. And that goes into the doc, which I'm sure she mentioned ad nauseum during her 8-hour diatribe. Yeah. Just because it wasn't their idea doesn't mean they don't still have to go back and at the very least wait in line behind those who've already been waiting and did not step illegal toe over the border. And that's how they should really redo DACA. But in terms of the homeless epidemic, and you're right, and not only is it causing a homeless epidemic, but because they, just like they outlawed straws, before that they outlawed plastic bags. And that's what a lot of the homeless used to collect their business in. And
so they're creating.
So now they're
worst
just
problem.
going all over the street, and people are having to walk where they step. They're getting hepatitis. In San Diego, we just had an outbreak over there. Thankfully, I'm in LA, but over just like a few
That's
hours down.
That's kind of funny to me to hear that.
Just a few hours, down the road, in our neighbor San Diego, they had an outbreak of Hep C. People are getting sick. They're dying because of this, and our homeless population throughout California, but specifically SoCal, is exploding. More so in these last few years than in all of our history, really. And we're now the state that's leading in homelessness, poverty. We're already, at the bottom academically. We're at the top when it comes to radical socialism craziness. Yeah. We're just completely off balance and we're off kilter, and we really got to find our balance.
And yet at the same time, the state itself, if split off as its own country, would be within the top 12 in the world, I believe, economically, for how much money they
the CalExit, but now they're talking about kind of a sub of that where they have, New California and South California. Right. And for people like me who are conservatives in Los Angeles and otherwise SoCal, we're still in the same situation because we're so Californians. And so the Northerns might find or experience a little bit more, of an improvement, but we would still be stuck in the same situation because, I'm all for the conservative ideologies, but the main reason people ask me, why haven't you left California? Because I love my weather. I love my Malibu beach. I spend a lot of time at the beach. Can you get that in Northern California? You don't get Malibu. You get a beach, but it's not Malibu, and I love my Malibu.
Once that feces starts running down,
I know,
the beach down there.
Crap. I was like, and they're trying to turn Cali, like you said, into a blank hole. And, I really, that's why I'm so very passionate about being a conservative, in this state, because the situation or the solution to the situation is not to build a wall around us or even to exit or to break up, but to just try to come together and fix the problem. Our state is not beyond, redemption. We can come back from this. We were once a red state.
Well, how about this? So you're kind of a fan of Trump, right?
Yeah, just a little bit. Because could you tell?
Yeah. So how about this? I wasn't a Trump fan. Okay. I told you I was a Cruz guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. At the same time, over the last year, I've been praising him a lot because one of the biggest concerns I had as a constitutional libertarian conservative was I just felt the liberals should be loving this guy because he supports most of the stuff that they support, So I was really scared that when he got in, he was going to do a backtrack and do more liberal things and conservative things. He's turned out to do more conservative things than almost any president, certainly in our history, But before I even go on with that, the one thing that did concern me, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are on it, was during the State of the Union address, okay?
Loved it.
The infrastructure bill and the immigration policy, okay? He basically, the Democrats were looking for basically granting amnesty for about 800,000 illegal immigrants. And he basically doubled down that and said, no, not 800,000. I'm going to give you 1.6 million or 1.8 million. I'm sorry, it was 1.8 million. And then as far as the infrastructure, conservatives are always concerned about spending habits of Congress, and they were concerned about President Obama's spending for infrastructure, and he basically upped it, right? So how do you feel about what he did with that? Even as a big supporter of his, do you feel like that was not in line with what you were looking for as a Trump supporter?
Well, it's a little complicated, but I can answer it. The first with the DACA thing, that kind of, most people might look at it and say, "Oh, hold on, I'm a little hinky here," because we're very hardcore about.
He clamped down on other things, though.
He clamped down on things.
The chain migration,
and
he wants that wall.
I'm 100% pro wall. I'm 100% anti DACA. But here's what shows in this particular aspect his immense genius, because if I had to theorize, Donald Trump knows the left. He's in their head. He's living there rent free. He knows that the DACA is their bread and butter. Illegal aliens, amnesty, that's their bread and butter, because again, they lost our support, and he knows that they can't let him have credit for anything.
Right.
He doesn't want DACA. He knows it's not good for anybody in the state, but those like the Pelosi crowd. So what he did is said, okay, fine, I'll take that and I'll do you one better, knowing you guys are going to try to figure out some way to say no, we're not going to do it because it's coming from you, but they'll do it under the guise of, oh no, he doesn't mean it. He's just trying to tout you guys, and he's still a white supremacist, and then nothing will ultimately get done about DACA, and then he can ultimately say, okay, fine, I gave you a shot, I gave you a chance, now I'm pulling rank, I'm the president, this is a proper executive order to make, and we're repealing it, everyone's got to go, and if they're eligible, they can come back and reapply as actual citizens, thus the people ultimately win. See, he's using their own vicious hate against them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's been going against them the whole past year.
And that's what so with that, and I believe I had to theorize, that's what I think he's doing, because he said himself, the Democrats don't want DACA, they just want to use it to get political points. Exactly. Now, when it comes to the spending, obviously, as a conservative, I am extremely, frugal. I downright call myself cheap, watching every penny. A lot of conservatives are, we are at $20+ trillion in debt.
Yes.
That should pretty much tell you what needs to be done in terms of our infrastructure. And it's because of, mainly the liberals, mainly the Democrats, but the rhinos on, quote, our side have been playing political footsie and patty cake behind the scenes for all these eons, letting them do it because they have their own agenda, just like they have an agenda with the illegal alien activity. They get the free labor, they get the votes, and then Mexico gets the kickback. So everyone's using these people, but specifically our side it needs to come together and figure out a solution to at least trim it down, take the hedge clippers. And I think because Donald Trump is a businessman, he's a business mogul, he knows how to make deals, he knows how to grow economies, create jobs, trim deficits. He's someone who can at least trim it. Now, I think that with all the stuff that we spend that's unnecessary, make a list of all these things, and college campuses are on that list of the things. Basket weaving as a major, how to deal with whiteness. That's a major.
I always say,
we're paying for that.
To get your college degree, you could definitely do it in 2 years if you cut out the excess stuff that they say forms a well-rounded adult.
How is basket weaving a well-rounded adult?
Oh no, it's just to make money.
How is
make more money
dealing with whiteness, gender studies?
Before we leave the topic of immigration, the one thing I want to point out is I think you and I are both absolutely for legal immigration.
We're for immigration, yes.
Absolutely, and the fact is, something needs to be done, right? Yes. Because in the meantime, we have. The figures fluctuate between 15 and 20, between 20 and 25
we're actually
million.
At 20+ million.
Yeah, absolutely. On people that are living here that are taking advantage of the welfare system, the food stamp system and everything, that don't contribute back to that system. So I'm okay with having to take care of people that are here legally that absolutely need the help and everything, but at the same time, there's a lot of people in that mix that can be contributing back to the system instead of just sucking it all dry.
To whatever capacity.
Yeah, and if we need to legalize those people, I think that Trump did the right thing in that we need to do something and get this rolling.
Well, that's why I hope and I pray that I'm right on this. That's what he's doing. That he's giving them the football and saying, okay, it's your turn. And then when they don't do anything, he's gonna say, see, I tried, and now I can pull the rank and say, nope, everybody got to go. Yeah. And when people have asked me, well, what is your plan for DACA? And I'm like, well, here it is. Everybody has to go. I don't care who you are. I don't care how long you've been here. I don't care if it wasn't your choice, I don't care if you're from Mexico or Switzerland, if you are not here documented, you have to go. And if you're DACA, then you need, depending on your circumstances, like if you haven't committed excess crime, as in not, nothing beyond the crime of just being here illegally, because they're committing a crime by being here illegally too. Don't think that they're not criminals by being here illegally too. And then if they got a clean slate otherwise, we send them back still, but we bring them back and put them in line, but behind those who've already been waiting. Then we thoroughly vet them even more so. And the people say, well, isn't it going to be difficult them having to readjust and adapt? Their parents were natives of Mexico and they came here and they eventually adapted. So it's just the same thing in reverse. And it's easier to speak Spanish than it is English. So you'll be fine. It may not be pleasant, but life sometimes is not pleasant. And the laws, we cannot pick and choose the ones we want to adhere to and abide. And when we mention the 20 plus million, I would say this. For as much as many of them are trying to come here, because a lot of Mexico is kind of a blank hole, and they'll be the first to tell you that, because otherwise why are they coming here? But all the money that illegal aliens send back home, the ones getting...
Imagine if it was $1 per person every week. That's $20 million out of the
Mexico
economy.
Great. All the money that they take from us, which they honestly steal from us, because they're not supposed to be making a penny here legally.
Let me just say this real quick, because I want to keep this moving along with other California things.
By now.
Yeah. I almost take, I try to rationalize, conversations with liberals who bring up good points sometimes, right? Which is, how would we get rid of them all? How would we ship them all out? That is an impossible task. And the only thing I can really think of in regards to that is, okay, let's say we just grant amnesty, shut off the border, right? That. Right. But here's the thing. We do like a one strike system. Like you do something,
you're out.
You're out. Well, and then we take care of it that way, because the bad apples, they got to go. You know what I mean? So maybe that's a way. But we'll move on from this real quick. We were talking about the hepatitis C and all that kind of stuff happening out there. One of the things in the last year that happened out in California was the decriminalization of the intentional spreading of HIV.
Well, you guys, those for you in California, you have one Scott Newsom to thank for that, since under the apparent guise of, well, it's discriminatory against those who have it, so they shouldn't have to disclose.
Yeah, it was,
excuse me? It's not the other person's fault that they got it, and more than likely, it's the person who's got it's fault that they got it.
Yeah.
So what is, even if you were someone, who somehow contracted it accidentally, not by, promiscuity or not by drugs or whatever.
Yeah, intentional spreading could be like the injection of someone just to do it to them.
But even if you got it by no means or fault of your own, if you give it to somebody else on purpose, it's still your fault, and you still need to disclose. But for me, again, I'm an old school, evangelical, straight out of the King James, and so you can clearly tell what's coming up. My view would be, how about y'all just keep your damn legs closed? Just stay off the needles, keep it zipped, keep it closed. It's just, what's difficult about that?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. One of the other things that we've been talking about a lot recently is this, in the beginning of the year, Mike Pence was getting a lot of heat for his only having meetings with women as long as someone else is present.
His wife is there, has to be there.
Yeah, exactly. And then the whole Me Too movement took off. Guess who's not wrapped up in the Me Too movement?
Mike Pence.
And it's like, they don't go back to that. And then Joy Behar, I think, just ripped into him again.
He's hearing voices, he's crazy. And I'm like...
And isn't he a shining example of maybe what we should be doing?
Probably.
To not get wrapped up in this whole Me Too movement.
And honestly, that's what I will really, when he first became the VP or was first the pick, I'd never heard of him before, because he's all the way in Indiana, so us flyover country, us coastals, Right. But I was really going hard for, Alan West and Newt Gingrich and Ben Carson to be his pick. But I was like, it's all right. But so I was like, who's this Mike Pence? I'm like, I want to know who he is. And I started researching him, and I was like, okay, all right, I'm growing. He's growing on me a little more. And then as I began to really the things that kind of just infuriated a lot of them on the left that he, espoused this, I was like, oh yeah, I like this guy. Yeah. Specifically, his unique views on the LGBT thing about how it's not inherent. It is a choice. God can deliver you. You can pray, get through it. And I was like, oh, that'll really send them into a tizzy, but I like this guy. And then when I heard about, his practices of how he engages with female, employers and people he meets with, Mrs. Pence is always there.
Yep.
And I'm like, this
she
is
did a
revolutionary.
great job introducing him.
She
this week
really
too.
did. Such a humble, modest lady. I think she's just really a class act. She's great. And I think I'm like, I like this guy. I like the Pence clan.
Yeah.
This is what we need. And it's honestly, it seems like such a radical idea to always have the missus right there to make sure, because a lot of this stuff happens not because you necessarily wanted to. It's just who's going to be there to regulate. And it just kind of happens.
Well, at this point, we're talking about flirting is rape.
Yeah.
And is considered rape.
Catcalling is rape.
Yeah,
but I would say that it's the pussycat feminazis who say that, and it's because deep down they're jealous they don't get pussycat called or they don't get cat called because they're ugly. I'm sorry, I just said it. That's right. People know that conservative women are prettier. We just are.
I gotta agree. I've been looking at
You got a conservative wife. You better say they're prettier.
Absolutely. So lots of just crazy things going on in California. There was one shining light, one good story that came out of California. Did you hear about the judge that ruled in favor of the Christian bakers against the lesbian couple that got married 6 months before they even asked for the cake? So
wait, what?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that part I didn't hear.
Yes, yeah.
So what were they? What was it then? If they had already gotten married.
Well, one of the other cases, I believe up in Washington, was the couple that is suing the baker up there drove 90 miles to find this Christian baker, past a bunch of secular bakers and a Muslim baker, and found this one and sued the guy, right? So it's like my tagline for my show is the truth is greater than agenda. And I think that's no more important than it has been over the last couple of years, because we see, well, first of all, the president loves to use fake news all the time. You know what I mean? But we keep on seeing all these things happen. One of my friends she claims to be Christian. I'm not going to judge a person's faith or anything like that. But I would have assumed that that most Christians tend to lean a little bit more to the right? And she kept on posting at the beginning of this year a bunch of stories about supposed Trump supporters attacking minorities, women, and brown people. I have to watch what I say because with you, I will get the speech. So you're working on me.
I'm working on it.
All these stories that eventually, within the next week or two, were debunked.
Completely debunked.
And at one point in time, I sent her a message. I said, a private message, because I don't want to be the type of person that calls her out in public. I said, hey, I think you should really go back and post a comment under that story that this was proven false, and they refused to do it. Because to them, the agenda is more important than the truth.
And I would just say quick on that, as believers, one quick thing is this needs to be said because I'm always getting it everywhere on social media. We're not supposed to judge, and I'm like, no, sweetie. Bible said don't judge hypocritically.
Yeah.
If someone claims to be a Christian, they put on that Christian pin and they got the Jesus robe on, then they're representing not just us as Christians, but Jesus himself. And we don't need to be misrepresenting. So if you're saying that you are of this faith, but you're espousing things that clearly fly in contrast to that faith, then you are, to be called out. And we're supposed to hold each other to our feet to the fire, hold each other accountable. And then it says judge by the fruits. So if those fruits look like they're counter to the faith, then you got to be called out. Yeah. So it is judging, but it's righteous judging. He said don't judge hypocritically. He never said don't judge. A lot of people outside the faith who are atheists want to tell us what's in our word, saying, oh, you're not supposed to judge. How are you going to tell me what's in my word? You're not even a Christian. Yeah. Shut up.
Well, going along with the whole truth and believing that's true.
Yeah,
as a tagline for my show and everything, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free.
It may not be pleasant. It may not be pleasant. It'll be hella inconvenient.
It stings sometimes.
The truth. I look at the truth as being like the peroxide to the gash. That is the problem. And applying the truth is going to sting. It's going to hurt. I was a kid in the 90s. We actually were kids back then and ran around and played. We weren't overly coddled. And so I skinned my knee a lot. And my mom had to apply the peroxide, and it stung like crazy, but it helped. It didn't get infected. It didn't get worse. So the truth, it's going to sting. It's going to hurt. It's not going to be pretty, but eventually it'll help in the long run. And the liberals, they want to just kind of put a Band-Aid over things and not actually deal with the problem.
It's like a Band-Aid over a gunshot wound.
Yes,
but it's slowing a problem, but it's not fixing it.
They don't go near the guns, apparently. Yet they're armed. Their security teams, the politicians are armed with them. But we can't have the guns. We're the ones living in the regions where not me, thankfully, but a lot of people are living in regions. We need to arm yourself.
Well, of the 300 million plus guns in the country, less than 1% of them are used for violent crimes.
Thank you.
So the majority of gun owners are law-abiding citizens, and the rules that they're trying to put in place, the policies and laws that they're trying to put in place, are laws that are going to be broken by criminals anyway, and in the end, you're punishing the people that are law-abiding citizens. So it doesn't make any sense.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The gun-free zones only benefit the gunmen.
Absolutely.
They do not
it's like
benefit.
a welcome sign.
It's a welcome sign. It's not like they're going to say, oh, gun-free zone. All right, I'm going to go home. No.
I can't go in there.
Target.
Soft target, as they say.
And then, this touches on, obviously, Parkland, and our hearts go out to these people, the mamas and the dads. I've got, nieces and a little sister, so I can't imagine the pain. But at the same time, we can't allow ourselves as free Americans who are already having to hold on a dear life for these freedoms because the liberals are trying to strip away every single right that they can. The answer is more guns, not less, but in the right hands.
Exactly.
We proved that with the Texas church shooting in Sutherland. A good guy with a gun was able to stop more carnage from being achieved. This and you can see why they didn't discuss it on MSNBC. And see that shooting got very little fanfare because how are they going to spin it in their direction? So this one they had to and they had to really promote hard. Now they got their own students. The students who survived, they're putting them up just to try to gain the sympathy factor. Oh, they can't be attacked. We can just steamroll over the truth and promote our lie agenda. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I will call out whomever is lying, regardless of what the circumstances are. You survived it, great. It was because of Smith with a gun who was able to ultimately apprehend that guy. Look at it from that perspective. The truth, not feelings. Because as Ben Shapiro says, facts don't care about your feelings.
Exactly.
And people need to understand the NRA for Black people, for the Al Sharpton crowd who want to demonize the NRA. They were founded to arm newly freed former slaves who were being targeted day and night by the KKK, who was founded by the Democratic Party to keep us protected from them. So guns, more guns in the right hands, not less. And so God bless the NRA for that.
Yep. I have one topic I want to hit, but before that, do you see any light of hope in California at all?
I do see a hope. I feel like if I didn't see any hope, I wouldn't live there. At least I want to say that. But honestly, I'm weather spoiled. Anybody Californians, we know we're weather spoiled. We love it. Our nice dry heat. We've got the best weather, the climate. So
you don't like our up and down 20-degree fluctuations over the last couple days?
I have no voice because of this up and down. No. I mean, it's the only place you can go skiing, dune bugging and surfing all in one day. It's the best, climate region. But that's why I stick it out. But also, not just for that, there are so many good people, so many decent people who live in the big, crazy blue desert, and it's a desert more in that it's devoid of common sense for a lot. But the people are decent. A lot of people are decent. And the region is so very important.
Their voices are drowned out.
Their voices are drowning, but we have within our midst, in our grasp, and I'm talking specifically to Californians, but specifically Los Angelinos. This is, I would say, probably the most politically, most important city on earth because as goes LA, so goes the rest of the state. And as goes the state, so goes the rest of the country. We hear the term when Californians get a cough, rest of the country gets a cold. And as goes the country, so goes the rest of the world. Because whatever we do has such, rippling ramifications and implications for the rest of the globe. And it really all starts in my home city of LA. So that is, therefore, there's such an urgency for that region. We don't need to give up on LA, give up on all of California. We need to focus even harder on California, really mobilize behind it and try to take back the region and flip it around from a current liberal cesspool to a conservative haven. And I think with enough effort, creativity, outreach, getting the truth out there, taking some hits, being willing to I take the hits every day. I get called coon, Uncle Tom, Aunt Jemima, all that stuff. Sellout, race trader, house, all that stuff. I've actually had physical attacks against me, throwing bottles, somebody taking swings at me, and but I don't let it.
Just walking down the street with you here.
Yeah, you were in danger with me because you were walking down the street and people were giving us the stink eye. Yeah. But I was like, you know what? I'm almost used to it now.
Yeah. It wasn't even phasing you.
It wasn't even phasing me.
I was the one that pointed
You
out.
were like a little scared, like we should get out of here. But you're good. People. I think the people that's most concerned is, well, I don't want to take the hits, not even the verbal hits.
Right.
I don't want to lose Facebook friends. You have to be willing to take some hits. Lose some Facebook friends, be willing to get unliked, and do what needs to be done. It's like what MLK did. He did not create the change that he did without being willing to almost die for it. I mean, he had so many attempts on that man's life. Now, whatever he did behind the scenes, his own personal life, on paper, on record, he was a very significant tool for change that really has been felt throughout the globe, not just throughout the nation. But he knew it was going to take effort, hard work, and taking some hits, all kinds of hits. And if he can do that, one person, for just one group of people, but all people really, then Californians can mobilize together and we can be a larger number. Not one lone man like him, but multiple people to try to save the state. It is savable, it is salvageable, and it's worth it. This is our home. For people who are native Californians, this is our home. This is mother to us all. She deserves our fight and our effort. It's a beautiful region. It's got the best climate. Palm trees, beaches, Malibu. I mean, if anybody's ever been to Malibu, it's beautiful. I mean, it's so scenic. We don't want to see this turn into Mexico, into Haiti, into other regions where they're willing to die to try to get over here.
Right.
In Haiti, they're sewing pieces of garbage and trash together to make a makeshift raft, and they're risking getting eaten by sharks just to get over here. So they're the only ones not mad at Trump for allegedly saying it was a shit hole, because they're like, yeah, it is. Why do they go trying to get over here? So why would we want to?
Why would they be escaping a paradise?
Yes, no one wants to leave a good place.
Yeah.
They leave a bad place. That's why people are leaving in droves, California, because it's deteriorating and it's destabilizing day by day. Yeah. But it can be fixed.
Good.
People just please don't give up on California.
Okay, so here's what I want to talk to you about too. One of the reasons, and it's almost like Candace Owens said this in a couple interviews I listened to her. She said, I don't want to be stereotyped into a category where I become a representative for the brown conservatives and everything. But if we have to play the stereotyping game to do it, then we have to do it.
100% agree.
We have to play that game. So if we're being honest here, one of the reasons why you're so popular around CPAC the past 3 years is because you're a brown woman walking around with a Make America Great Again hat, right? And you are just pulled left and right. I mean, I try walking around with you and it's like you're in an interview. You're in an interview over here, and it's like, it's nonstop. But for you too, looking around CPAC, this is a diverse conference.
It was extremely.
It is over, what did they say this morning? Over 50% of the attendees were under the age of 34.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
We have brown people, we have Hispanic people here, we have a lot of women coming.
I saw
college
a lot of
Republicans.
Asians.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was like,
well, we had the Japanese Conservative Union here, which was
the
awesome.
Japanese version of this. I saw one of the Trump hat. I was like, I gotta get a picture. I was like, I see how they feel about me. Like now, I see how I feel. Yeah. I finally see what it's like.
So to go off of that though, what is important for the brown community to see in Republican values or conservative values? What are they missing? What are the liberal ones missing that
you realize, that you grasped onto, that is so misconstrued in the media about conservatives hating the brown and any minorities for that matter?
Well, I would say that you got to break down the liberals into the ones who are in the establishment, those at the top,
Right.
the ones who are in the swamp, because they know the truth. They just espouse the life their own gain.
Right.
So they know what needs to be done. They just won't do it. Then there is what you were, I think, referring to were the masses who blindly and stupidly vote for them. They're being fed a bill of goods, the lie that, oh, the Republicans are racist, they're misogynist, they're a phobe and an ism of this, that, and the other. And the thing is that they're misconstruing what it means to be diverse. They always want to promote diversity. Now that is this code word for anything but a straight white male. That's all diversity means, anything but that.
Yeah.
When in fact, diversity means diversity of thought, ideals, opinions, not necessarily, and even to an extent, backgrounds in terms of where you came from in ideology, not gender. There are only two, by the way. You cannot switch them. Just put that out there. My goodness, this is getting on my nerves. Well, again, I'm an evangelical, so this is one of the biggest problems for me facing, especially in Hollywood, But also the understanding is that color, diversity of color, is so important. You cannot help your gender, and you cannot help your color. So why should that matter in terms of, I'm going to get somebody just because they're this gender or because they're that color? That's not diversity. That's just people looking different. Diversity is diversity of thought, diversity of ideas, coming together from different, ideological sets and making something happen. That's true diversity. And you see that in the Republican Party, but you also see their idea of diversity in the Republican Party. I saw so many brown people with Trump hats. I was about to have a seizure. I was like, this is incredible. And I saw brown men, brown women. I saw Hispanic men and women, Asians, and of course Caucasian men and women. I was like, you got all these different things here at the California. I'm sorry, the California at the conservative. I got California in the brain. It's my heart.
Fault.
It's closest to my heart. But you have at the Conservative Political Action Conference all of these just wide range of different looking people, for which they claim is diversity. Yeah, that's technically a diversity because it's difference in color, but that's not true, real, important diversity.
Right.
And even in the real diversity, you have people who are more libertarians and who want to legalize pot and say, the government shouldn't be in your business. Those, who might be a little more moderate in their conservative views, who want to keep the border safe, but, be a little more flexible. Those who are more like myself, kind of on the more, I call myself an extreme conservative right winger. I'm proud of it, and then those who are somewhere in the middle, those who kind of are independent but lean right. There's a really diversity, whereas on the left, all you got is hate Trump, hate men, abortion on demand, and promote 3% of the population as if they're the only, and that's the LGBT, and then indoctrinate 4-year-olds into that lifestyle. Right. That's all you got on that side.
Yeah.
Where's the diversity in that?
And not only that, it's so much so towing the line that if you do have a diversity in thought, anything different, if you toe the line 90% of the time and you do one thing wrong, like if you're in the LGBT community and you believe in conservative fiscal policy, you're out.
Oh yeah. You're considered I don't know what they call them. What's their version of Uncle Tom?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it really does make you think. We even have the Pink Pistols, which if people are not familiar, I found out about them after the Orlando shooting, where a Muslim who targeted the gay identifiers nightclub, and the Pistols said, you know what, we're going to vote for Trump because he's for keeping us armed, everybody armed, so long as they're not unstable, and someone with a gun could have defeated that guy. And so we're going to vote for Trump now. So the Pink Pistols are basically, so we have even a little of that now. Obviously, I have views on that as a Christian, but I welcome every vote. Because see,
who are the people in the Pink Pistols?
The Pink Pistols are they're a gay Second Amendment group.
Okay, so along the same lines, we have the Log Cabin Republicans here.
a group of gay Republicans, and like so
that
so
took me by
there,
surprise.
Even more so by surprise for you would be the transgender community that showed up.
That showed up here, and I was like,
that
okay.
are otherwise conservatives, right? They had the. Did you see them?
I did see them.
So
I did see them. I was like, just as long as you vote, I'm going to try and just be chill. But vote, just vote, because I'll take any vote for a
exactly.
conservative.
And I think that's the way that we grow our tent. Is look, if you agree with over 50%, over 60% of all the principles that go along with the Republican Party, there's room for you in the tent. We may disagree on issues, right? There may be a disagreement on the transgender platform, on whatever they stand for and everything. They were holding a "Don't Tread on Me" flag that had the snake "Don't Tread on Me" in the rainbow background, right? We may disagree on some of the things with the log cabin Republicans, but at the same time, they have said, those people, I witnessed the conversation over there with the transgender community. They said this has been the most open and honest and engaging and respectful conversations that we have had with people here at the conservative conference. You go down to the log cabin Republicans. I specifically asked them, how has your reception here to the conference been? They said it's been amazing. You know, we may disagree on things with some with marriage and stuff like that. Or no, I'm sorry, the log cabin Republicans actually disagree with gay marriage.
Well, see, that's what I was hoping. I was like, I can, the main problem I have with that whole mini 3% of people, not even the full 3%, is you're going to do what you're going to do behind closed doors. I can't stop you. I pray
and that's
for
a libertarian
you.
approach.
I pray for you, but I can't stop you.
Yeah.
But don't then try to force what you want. I mean, like the people who drove 80 miles past a Muslim bakery and 80 plus different secular bakeries just to try to jam their thumb in our Christian eye,
Well, I always say that's the thing that Christians and gays have in common is the gay people or the LGBT community will just say, we just want to be left alone. Well, so do Christians. Like, we don't want to be forced into doing something that we disagree with. Just leave us alone. There's plenty of other things of businesses out there that will help you. And we're not saying we're not throwing the Bible at you when you come into the business. In most cases, they refer other businesses and say, this is someone that can help you out. I'll serve you anything else in here as long as it doesn't have to do with me specifically having to do my creative forces into work behind your wedding and participating in what we consider
and
a sin.
then going far, that probably what you just said is an extremely small minority of that 3% that truly do just want to be, quote, left alone. But the fact of the matter is, and something I have studied on at length, there is a growing radical movement that started out always want to be left alone, but they really want to redefine the norms and recast that in the image of this whole other set of LGBT ideology. So I always want to take that assertion with a grain of salt and say, do you really? Prove it by allowing me to say no. By allowing me to pull my kid out of an LGBT class and prove it by you saying no. That stuff hasn't got to do with the core curriculums of public schools, so we're not going to push that. Because if you really just want to be left alone, then you're not going to try to redefine the norms. Because let's just be honest. This is the norm. That's an alternation. You want to do that? I can't stop you. But don't try to transform the norm, because again, 3% at best, whereas you have 97% of people pretty much know what the heck their gender is, and naturally, based on that, are attracted accordingly. Let's just be honest.
So we got a little off topic with because I wanted to stick with the brown conservatives.
What they miss is the lie, they miss that they're being lied to. So you said people like Candace Owens and Tony Aquifor and
Larry Elder,
myself,
Tommy Sotomayor. Is that who you said?
We are people who, and I'm so grateful to be counted amongst these incredible men and women. We get it. We understand, and some of us came from the other side, having bought the lie. Now, not myself, obviously, but I've been in this since I was 8. But some have been to the other side. That's okay. You live, you learn. As long as you eventually figure it out, and some of them have, and they realize, I was lied to. The thing I always hear from those who have converted to conservatism is, I was lied to, and the masses, the brown masses on the left, they don't understand on a surface level that they're being lied to. They know deep down what the real deal is. They just don't want to adhere to it because it's easier to get that handout.
And unfortunately, it seems like there's always a spark, a changing point, and that goes for anyone in even in religion, right? I mean, there was a time that most people can point to that they came to Jesus, you know, or they switched to a political party that better fit them because of a certain situation that played out. And unfortunately, it just seems like that can't be a mass situation that happens for people to be switched on to something, you know?
Well, we've certainly seen some stagnation there. We've certainly seen a decline, but I would go as far as to say that we can revamp, we can recalculate, we can reboot. It's doable. Again, just like saving California is doable. Getting people to kind of have a mass exodus out of the Democratic slave plantation. We kind of think of ourselves as kind of mini Moseses, modern day. Specifically, you know, brown conservatives, we really are kind of like a modern day set of Moseses because we are being called. We're really being called to reach out to these people and saying, we're going farther. We're not going to the Democratic Party and saying, you know, let our people go. We're going to the individuals themselves saying, let yourselves be free finally. Let stop adhering to and buying the bullcrap lies of the left and finally free yourself. Listen to what we have to say. If you won't listen to someone like yourself of your hue, you know, and say, because they'll think, oh, well, he's just racist, so I won't listen to him. Fine, like Candace Owens said, if I want my people, my ethnicity bracket to wake up, and if I've got to, you know, be the one to go out there and do it, even though the truth is the truth and still credible, even if you say it, if Donald Trump says
like Ben said, you know, it's not my truth, there's only the truth.
It's the truth, then fine, I'll do whatever it takes. If I got to play the role, if I got to be the one who gets sent out there, almost in a tokenary sense, you know, because they'll listen to us more so, which again I think is beyond stupid. You know, the truth is like a diamond. No matter who cuts it, it's going to shine the same way. You know, you tell, you know, Black America, Brown America, whatever, the truth, I tell it, it's the same thing. It shouldn't be me out there saying it versus you because they won't listen to it. It should be anybody. But in a way, I get it why they would put us and promote us out in that particular fashion, and it's not because they think, oh, you know, well, look at this little token I have. You know, see, we're not racist. No. They're not doing that. And that's what the left will always accuse the conservatives of whenever they promote, you know, Black or brown conservatives. Oh, that's a token. No, they just know that Black people, I'm just going to be straight up, are stuck on stupid for the most part and will only listen to the truth maybe if it's coming from someone of their own ethnicity bracket. And so, and they're concerned more about getting the truth out to you because they know it's going to benefit you, you know, versus trying to beat their head against the proverbial wall with them saying it themselves and then you ultimately not get it. And then you, the individual, ultimately wind up in a worse situation or the bad situation continues. So if you look at it from that perspective, you know, white conservatives care very much about brown people, but the understanding has been, well, they're not going to listen to us anyway. We wish that we welcome them. I mean, if they didn't welcome us, I wouldn't be here. Right. Deneen Borelli wouldn't be here. Charles Payne, Larry Elder, you know, Burgess Owens, Candace Owens, all these people, Antonia Okafor. I can list a lengthy list of brown conservative men and women from millennials like myself to, you know, older brackets. I mean, it's there. We are a presence. And if it was a racist, do they think that if it was a racist organization or a racist party that you would be a part of it? No.
And what is the reception like for you from people here that are part of this convention?
Well, as you know, my voice is gone, in part because I spent all of 10 minutes out in the cold. My voice just went gone, but also because I've been talking so much to different, you know, outlets, different news organizations, and different people just coming up to me saying, so how did you become a conservative? And it's not even just the many interviews I did, but just people walking up to me saying, I see you in your Trump hat, or I see you here just at the conservative, you know, conference, you know, explain. And, you know, because it's such a, you know, a foreign concept to them, because they're being told every day on MSNBC, CNN, which I call corrupt news network, and all the other morning shows and late night shows, that it's just a bunch of old rich white men, and then some women too, but crusty no black
rich
people.
White men.
Yes, you know, but no Black people, no brown people, no one who's a minority, and that's why I'm so bold in my conservative views, because I want my ethnicity to wake up, and I want to show all brackets. I think we all do. Candace, Antonia, Niger Innes, Charles Payne, L'Oreal, they're David Webb. We want to show that the people out there, hey, we're there. We exist.
Yep.
We're not unicorns, though mathematically speaking, as a minority millennial female in Los Angeles who's a hardcore conservative, I should not exist.
That hat should have a horn on it.
I know. That should be my new moniker. But see, all the more. I mean, they don't even think that moderate, independent Blacks exist. So someone like me, I got to put the message out.
Well, I thank you for everything that you're doing. If anyone wants to find you and follow up on what you're doing and everything else, where can people find you at? On
Twitter. On Instagram, both my headers are Kira Innis 7, one word. On
Can you spell that out though?
KIRAINNIS 7, and on Facebook it's Kira space Innis, and the blog is we're in the process of building it up, and my blog will be Kira Innis, a conservative brown chick. We are promoting not just browns of this particular hue, but browns who are Sri Lankan, Indian, Native American, Hispanic, Arab, and it's also for white women. We welcome them as well so very much. What my white sisters out there,
just not white men.
No. It's really for. We encourage also. All men of every varying race, ethnicity to come and be a part, equally welcome. But women are being told that they can only be one thing, that their wealth or that their identity can only be in their gender and what they do with it. You've got to be a hardcore Cecilia Richards type abortionist to be a woman. Right. And we want to show all women of all shades of brown, and white is even a kind of a light brown.
I'm Italian.
There's just, a light brown. All women of all colors come together under conservative brown chick to just kind of own our identity again and not be told what we are and what we can believe and what we can't believe in. And because, again, it's thought to be old rich white men and nothing else. There's a lot of conservative women, hardcore, and I could think of so many. Marsha Blackburn, one of my favorites, someone who I would love to see as the first woman president, quite frankly. And she's been such a hero, a heroine, really, of so many women of varying colors. I know a lot of Black women, brown women, if you'll say, who look to her like her and Margaret Thatcher, two of my favorites. And they're white. White as I would say that wall, and they're people I look up to.
You're looking me up and down there for a second.
But see, this is what conservative brown chick is wanting to do. Yeah. Incorporate all people from all walks of life, specifically women, to own their political identity and say, yo, I may be of this particular gender, but I can do other things. I can be a homemaker, a husband, a wife. I can submit to my husband, as the Bible says. I can, be a mom and dote on my kids. I don't have to, or I can be, a corporate raider, or I can be president, and just we're ones for real diversity and real inclusion, and putting forth specifically to let minority women know it's okay to be a conservative. And that'll be one of our key messages, is it's okay, it's really beneficial, if you want to know the truth, to be conservative, because that's the only path that anybody, minority, elderly, Black, white, poor, rich, you want to succeed, you want safety, you want security, you want upward mobility, the conservative right is your best chance.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure to speak with you, Chris.
You.
I love you, Chris.
There's a bunch of other topics I would love to get your opinion on.
Our next one.
Exactly.
To be continued.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again for coming out.
Always a pleasure,
for sitting down with me, giving me the time. So again, you can find her on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And what was the name of the blog that's coming up?
Conservative Brown Chick.
Conservative Brown Chick. So
coming to a blogosphere near you.
The only other thing I can say coming from CPAC here this year is if you have never gotten an opportunity to come down, even if you're a little bit to the right, or I would even encourage some people on the left to come
Democrats
out here
are welcome.
and see how great people are here.
Bite.
Yeah, exactly. We had some up on stage,
Yeah.
If you have the opportunity, I would encourage you to do it. If you don't have the financial means to do it,
volunteer for it.
Yeah.
You get half a day of working in, and you get free access to everything else. And it's you're going to meet the best people ever. I mean, we have both met so many people and made so many new friends and networking opportunities, and it's just fantastic. So this is it from CPAC 2018. And hopefully we'll see you again and for some more things coming out of CPAC 2019 as we approach the next election coming up. Then. So.
And remember those who are conservatives, what Trump said, bring it to heart. Fight for 2018 and then fight for the next years to come. We cannot stop. Politics, like money, never sleeps. We're always going.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the interview with Kira. I know when I was sitting there interviewing her, it felt like 20 to 30 minutes or so. It turned out to be an hour-long interview, like almost on the dot, an hour and 13 seconds. And it went really great. I think she did a really good job. Her family's history, you can actually look up the biography that she provided to me to put under the YouTube description, which is just her family's history of working with past administrations in support of the Second Amendment and all this other stuff. It was really cool what her family does. Niger Innes is her uncle, who is a big person in the political realm. We actually had the opportunity that's in the interview there to go to. She dragged me. I said in the interview too. I'm walking with her for a little while, trying to get her to the spot where I'm going to interview her, and we're trying to get off of Media Row, and like every 10 feet she's being pulled over here. Hey, can we talk to you for a second? So she's doing a quick short interview, and then we'd walk a little bit further and she's pulled off to the side again. Then all of a sudden this woman rushes up to her. She's like, you have to be down at the Black Conservative Federation conference down the street, like right now. You're supposed to be there. So she's like, oh my gosh, Chris, do you mind being like my person that I bring along to this Black Conservative Federation conference? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I won't stick out at all. So I'm one of 3 white people there, basically. But it ended up being really cool because Star Parker was there, who's basically the godmother of the Black conservative movement, especially for women, and her commentary on everything. Like, people went nuts over her. They're like, thanked her for being an inspiration. It was really cool. So, I'm sitting there and I definitely stuck out like a sore thumb and everything. Yeah. But on our way there, we were walking down the street, and we kind of alluded to this in the interview, and we're walking along and she's just talking. Kira is constantly talking. Like, she just talks your ear off, which is great for an interview situation because you don't have to pull it out of her to get her to say things, But we're walking down the street and she's just talking like crazy. Here she is, a brown conservative woman walking with this bright red MAGA hat on, right? Yeah. And we're walking down and the street was full of people, right? She and I were getting the nastiest looks from people. And I'm walking with her. I said, Kira, you're really getting some nasty looks here. Like, we're being eyed up real, like, a lot right now. Yeah. And she's like, oh, really? I didn't even notice. I was like, yeah, you are so used to this stuff. And we walked up and it was inspiring. There's a guy running for, when we walked in, there was a guy speaking who's running in Michigan. His last name is James. I forget his first name. Preacher. He's a preacher, and he's running for politics. He did an awesome job. So I would encourage you to look that up as well. But yeah, so it was a good interview. Next year, I want to talk to her about a couple more things. I want to talk to her about the history of the Republican Party with brown people and everything too, and especially in regards to where she thinks some big political leaders back in the day would stand today. Even though they were considered to be of a different political party, some people, we don't even know where they stood, I'm talking about Martin Luther King and stuff like that. I just want to know, like, what her thoughts are on that, as well as some international things as well. Okay, you ready? Yeah. Okay, so if you remember, we've played the game before, Watch Your Mouth. Yep. Where you put this contraption in your mouth, you do political statements, try to figure out, the other person tries to figure out what you're saying. We write funny political statements, or at least try to be funny. Yeah. He thinks he can leave me for a Steven Crowder show and be a writer. Apparently.
No, I said if I was good at this, I would be, but I'm not.
I told you I pay you too much.
Yeah, right.
The YouTube checks keep on flowing in, man.
Totally.
So we're gonna play the game, and I'm pretty giving. So do you want to go first, or do you want to go second?
Sure, I'll go first.
Okay.
All right.
So he's going to put this into his mouth. We're going to talk about funny political statements. I'm going to try to figure out what the heck he's talking about here.
All right.
Let's do this.
Here we go again. All right, Hugs. Are you ready?
I'm set.
Okay. Statement number 1. The fact that Joy Behar still has a career is proof of God's existence. Hashtag, all things are possible through him.
The proof that Joy Behar still has a career is proof that God exists. Or God exists? Hashtag
proof of God's existence.
Proof of God's existence. Man, you made a long one there. Jeez.
Yeah.
Hashtag what?
All things are possible.
All things are possible through him.
All right. Ready? Good.
Yeah, how about we do... We have
alternate?
6, right? Mm-hmm. Do one more. We'll do 2 and 2.
Two. Okay. All right. Number 2. Silent awe welcomes Star-Lord's thoughts and prayers.
Silent Bob
welcomes Star-Lord's thoughts and prayers.
Star-Lord's. Okay. Welcome Star-Lord's thoughts and prayers.
Yes.
All right.
Which you did.
Oh, man. Okay, you ready?
Yeah. Oh, man, those chompers. Let me tell you something.
Fire Marshal. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
All right, drilling. Apparently, Tide Pods hold the elixir for constitutional wisdom.
Apparently, Tide Pods hold the elixir for constitutional wisdom.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Wow, that hurts.
Yeah.
When the president's gun policies make Obama style the show.
When the president's gun policies make Obama smile, there's trouble.
Yeah. We're having an easier time this time.
Yeah. You just gotta listen. You just gotta pay attention.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Trans wrestler uses Ariane supplement plan.
Trans wrestler uses what?
Ariane's supplement plan.
Barry Bonds supplement plan.
This is a very current event, like today.
Will I know it?
I don't know.
Let's
See?
say Thursday? Okay.
Yeah. Aluminum and steel tariffs foil China's trade war.
That was a good play on words.
Yeah.
Say it one more time, though.
Aluminum and steel tariffs.
Aluminum and steel tariffs
foil China's trade war.
China's trade
war.
What?
War.
Yes. Oh boy. Okay. God talks to her, so it turns out I'm crazy.
God talks to me, so it turns out I'm crazy.
Okay. Hey, Trump and Democrats, North Korea called. They want their gun policy back.
Hey, what's the second
Trump
one?
and Democrats.
Trump and Democrats. North Korea called. They want their gun policies back.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Okay.
Is this the bad one?
The last one is.
Okay.
It's not that bad. I think it's great. All right. By the third movie, they will want to make a conduct right again.
Say it again.
By the third movie, they will want to make Wakanda great again.
By the third movie, they'll want to make Wakanda great again.
Mm-hmm. I'll explain that then. Yeah. I'll explain that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, last one. Here we go.
Yeah.
Apparently, you just have to dance. Okay, I'm sorry. Apparently, you just have to dance. And the sale of assault-style rifles for literal to load dicks. You get it?
Oh my gosh. Apparently you just have to ban assault rifles for liberals to love dicks. Oh my gosh.
Now the patriarchy isn't so bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, but real quick.
Yeah.
We'll keep it separate from the review, but the reason that the third movie they'll want to make Wakanda great again, first movie, Wakanda's pretty great. They got a nice wall, keeping everyone out, don't want to ruin our culture. Yeah. By the end of the movie, though, we're going to take the wall down, we're going to share everything with everybody. Something tells me second movie, some bad guys are going to take advantage of that, kill lots of Wakandans.
They didn't think it through either.
They're going to kill a lot of Wakandans are going to die. Yeah. The villain will come in, steal all the vibranium. By the third movie, they're going to want to make Wakanda great again. Put that wall back up.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. The NRA doesn't kill people, they kill socialist plans.
The NRA doesn't kill people, they kill socialist plans?
Yeah. This is too easy. We need to go back to the headphones.
Yeah.
Obama is hearing Jack smiling at the nest while he pretends to play sports.
Alright, that was
Obama is sitting back, smiling at this nest while he pretends to play sports.
Obama is sitting back smiling at this mess while he pretends to play sports.
Oh, man. You know why? Because he's horrible at basketball. He can't sink a net for the life of him. He's horrible at golf, even though he played all the time. And did you ever see him pitch a baseball?
No.
He stood halfway between the mound and the home base there, the batter.
Home plate.
Yeah, home plate.
Sinking net.
Yeah, and
you never sounded whiter.
No, he still came up short. It was the weakest thing. George Bush threw it from better ball.
Oh man, he threw a strike. Yeah. Oh man. Listen, can't sink a net.
Yeah.
Try my damnedest, just can't do it. Listen.
I gotta make my basketball great again. Okay, so I appreciate you guys tuning in. It was a good podcast. Again, if you're sticking around, you're going to get the Black Panther review. Mm-hmm. Appreciate you tuning in. Again, follow us on social media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Just search for the Generation Y Conservative. Also, you can catch the audio version of the podcast on Sundays, 3 to 6 p.m. on KLRN Internet Radio. You can also find the podcast after Sundays on iHeartRadio or iTunes as well. Mm-hmm. So in the meantime, we'll catch you next week. Have a great night, and God bless America.